All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Tuesday, April 9th, 2013. Dr. Cash, will you please lead us in the flag salute?
Please stand. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have Spanish translation for today's meeting, and we also have headsets for the hearing impaired available.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Lourdes Fleischer y estamos aquí para si alguien necesita traducción en español, pueden pasar conmigo y les puedo dar unos radios para que puedan escuchar la junta de hoy. Gracias.
Gracias. We have introductions, proclamations, presentations, and recognitions. Dr. Cash.
Well, tonight in closed session, the board made some decisions. Would you like to announce those so we could make a quick introduction?
Oh, yes. I will announce just those two, and
Yeah,
then I
let's
will
just do
return to
those
those two. In closed session, the board approved the appointment of Venetia Davis as the principal for Harding University Partnership School for the 2013-2014 school year. The motion was made by Dr. Paz and seconded by Ms. Parker, and it was a 5-0 vote. In closed session, the board also had the pleasure of approving and appointing Fran Wajcinick as the principal of La Cuesta Alta Vista School for the 2013-2014 school year. Dr. Paz made the motion, and Ms. Parker seconded it, and the vote was 5-0. So. So congratulations and welcome to the senior leadership team.
Yes, I also want to extend my congratulations. This is one of the great opportunities. We have the benefit of watching two great school leaders in our school district for the past, one the past 5 or 6 months and the other for several years. And it's really an awesome, I think, recognition of the work that they've done and also a recognition of their leadership. We're really excited about having them be part of the team and know that Venetia in the elementary Principals Council has been and will continue to be a valuable contributor, and really excited about Fran's taking over of La Cuesta and Alta Vista officially. And I'll take one more time to thank Kathy Abney, our outgoing principal of those two high schools, for her incredible dedication and service for I won't say how many, many years to students in Santa Barbara. And I know that Fran would recognize Kathy's incredible dedication, especially to the students at La Cuesta and Alta Vista, in making that a very special and important part of our school system. So welcome to both Venetia and Fran, and congratulations, and get ready for some hard work. Okay, well, everyone knows that we take the California Standards tests, and we maybe take them for the last time next year. So, we're very excited tonight to have the opportunity to recognize our students who are some of our highest performers in our elementary schools, our junior highs, and high schools. These tests measure students' progress towards state-adopted academic content standards in English language arts, mathematics, science, and social science. And they're one way for us to monitor how students progress from grade to grade. The results are announced the results from last spring are in, and it's a good time to announce our high performers because I think kids are going to be taking the test very soon. And I'm pleased to introduce these students. They received the highest score in English language arts and or math at their school, and the highest scores in the district at each grade level. I'm going to ask Mr. Handel and Dr. Drotti to come forward and read the names of these students. And we're going to start with grade 2. And I'm going to step down here and shake everybody's hand. And I hope that you've all been given the instructions. Going to shake some hands, and you're going to stand here so we can get a picture, and we can get all the pictures we need of our students. So, Dr. Drotti.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Okay, the first person up is from 2nd grade in Adams, who received a perfect score, Nicole Parker. Also from the 2nd grade, from McKinley, Ian Hernandez. We move out to the 3rd grade now, from Adelante Charter, Audrey Lang. From Cleveland Elementary, Justin Perez. From Washington, who received a perfect score, Lily Dew. Also from Washington, who received a perfect score, Jacob Wu Lee. We now move on to the 4th grade. From Cleveland, Erica Becerra. From Franklin Elementary, Wendy Angel Alvarez. From Harding Elementary, Asher Samonson. From Peabody Charter, Joshua Benson. From Santa Barbara Community Academy, Yasmin Mendez. From Washington, Ria Camarel. Also from Washington, Eva Machito. We move on to the 5th grade now. From Monroe Elementary, Jenna Rode. From Open Alternative, Rose Nadiz. From Roosevelt Elementary, who received a perfect score, Claudia Brewer. From Washington Elementary, who received a perfect score, Jaden Power. We now move to the 6th grade. From Adams School, Simon Parker. From Santa Barbara Charter, Caden Donahue. Mr. Handel, you'll take over from here.
I will. That's mine.
So let's get all the elementary kids, get some photos, and we'll let them go sit down. So, parents, take your photos.
We might want to have the students on the side, like Simon, come on forward and, yeah, move just a little bit.
Move this way. Yeah, let us get out of the way. We're not academic superstars. How about a big round of applause for all? You want to make any comments before we bring up the old guys?
Board? Well, Dr. Paz?
Just really quickly, this is why we do what we do. And this is, for me, it's just fantastic to see the success, and this actually gives me lots of inspiration to keep going to,
Now, when we get the elementary students to go outside, Ms. Kiani's going to take a group photo of our academic all-stars. So why don't you follow her on out to the courtyard?
So we'll go ahead and get started with the secondary outstanding students. Representing 7th grade from Goleta Valley Junior High, Mark Nevins. From 8th grade, La Colina Junior High, Megan McQueen. Also from La Colina Junior High, Natalie Music. From La Cumbra Junior High School, Sebastian Elizondo. From Santa Barbara Junior High, Natalie Moore. Moving on to the 9th grade, representing Dos Pueblos High School, Ryan O'Gorman. Representing San Marcos High School, Sean Estabrooks. We must have shy secondary students. Moving on to the 10th grade, La Cuesta High School, Victoria Aguirre. From Santa Barbara High School, Patterson Jeffers. And finally, 11th grade, Dos Pueblos High School, Eugene Cho. And that concludes all of our students.
So parents, get some photos. Now's the chance. And looks like we got a principal up taking some photos. Well, congratulations to all these great students. Board members, any comments?
Well, I'll take the moment again to echo the thank you to all the teachers, the principals who have invested so much time and energy to help our scholars, but also to you. I think that you set great examples as students at our junior highs and high schools for all of those elementary schools. So you've set some nice pathways. So congratulations and best of luck to you as you keep going through our school district. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you can go outside this time. We have Carolyn Norris Clay from Alta Vista and Ruby Budmeyer from Middle College are here to give our student report. Welcome.
Hello. From San Marcos High, the Royal Art Gallery will be open this week in the cafeteria. Amazing pieces of art will be on display, including jewelry, sculpture, and photography by the talented art students at San Marcos. San Marcos is very proud this year to have teams qualify to be CIF athletic teams. They have 11 teams in top 5 categories and are rated as the second highest overall school out of 550. San Marcos musical Thoroughly Modern Mile is approaching. They invite and encourage you all to get out, to go see it and get out. Wait, what? You all to go see it as soon as it is out. The Madrigals Choir are currently in San Francisco participating in the Festival of Gold.
And for Santa Barbara High School has just completed a series of events including Pennies for Patients, ASB elections, the Wall of Fame, an ASB car wash, an Easter egg hunt, and spring break. Last week, Santa Barbara High School created a Spirit Week, 5 days with different themes including PJ Day, College Gear Day, Hawaiian Day, Neon Day, and Green and Gold Day. Spirit Day concluded with a pep rally and double dollar dance. Santa Barbara High School is also in the process of planning various future events, including a band performance in the quad on April 11th, an ASB commissioners meeting for future reps, a senior assembly on April 16th, a quad grub on April 26th, and Kiss a Senior Goodbye fundraiser starting on the 29th.
Dos Pueblos High School. DP's first ever MORP will take place Friday the 12th. DP is holding a canned food drive for the Unity Shop. The drive started on April 1st and will continue until the 30th. In the Heights is having their opening night on Friday the 12th. The play will be running for 3 weekends, closing on April 27th. What? Oh, sorry, I thought someone said something. ASB elections for the next 5 ASB officers will be taking place on April 12th. The class officer elections will be held on April 26th. Leadership applications for those interviewing to be in next year's leadership class will start being accepted May 1st. This month's Beautify DP will take place on Saturday, April 22nd from 9 to 12. Congratulations to Forbes B and Agneta C for winning CIF Scholar Athlete of the Year awards. Congratulations to Team 1717 for both their first place wins at the regional engineering competitions and for qualifying for the first ever world engineering competition.
And for Middle College has just begun reading a book in common called Enrique's Journey. The story follows a Honduran boy who travels to the United States to find his mother. The story puts a human face on the ongoing debate about immigration reform in the United States. Middle college students are also continuing to progress through Santa Barbara City College midterm season. Each student has been learning to use their time productively and efficiently in order to excel in their various CC courses. A few middle college students have formed a student-run hike program called MC Hikes. Another student, motivated by one of our 30-day challenges to read 4 books a month, is forming a book club. Middle college seniors are beginning to receive college acceptances from Cal State Northridge, University of Vermont, Mills College, Trinity University, San Francisco State, Seattle University, and many more.
Alta Vista High School. Along with La Cuesta High School students from Alta Vista High School are being offered an opportunity to attend a field trip to tour the University of California, Los Angeles on May 7, 2013. The Western Association of Schools and Colleges visited Alta Vista from March 17th to March 20th of 2013. Students, parents, and teachers, staff, and administrators were interviewed by the review committee. It was a very thorough visit, including visits to all 3 school locations, hours of interviews, and hours of observations. The visit culminated in a very positive review. Students will also have the opportunity to visit the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising on April 18th. The Lambda Sigma Gamma Sorority Incorporated at UCSB has invited students to participate in a 1-day program about pursuing jobs, developing life skills, and the application process for higher education.
And
That's it.
concludes our report.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great job. I hope everyone can take a moment now, if you haven't already seen it, the display board here at the back of our boardroom. Second grade students from McKinley Elementary School in our ICANN art program taught by Angela Lang, created these beautiful sunflower still lifes. These mixed media pieces have been inspired, obviously, by Vincent van Gogh's many sunflower paintings, and they demonstrate, I think, a high level of creativity by our students and also outstanding teachers teaching in our ICANN program. I want to remind everybody that the California State Science Fair takes place this next weekend, and 24 of our students qualified for the State Science Fair. It might be the most of any district in the state. Many of them, we wish them well, and we hope that they come back with some medals and awards, which we're pretty confident they will. Two final announcements. One is that Common Core brochures that have been developed by the Barbara Chiani in our communications office. They're both in English and in Spanish, and they're for parents and guardians, and we think that's a good first introduction to the Common Core state standards. We also have a version that we're giving to our business community as well. On Monday evening, April 29th, I'm going to be holding another State of Education meeting. This one will be at Franklin Elementary School, and the purpose will be to outreach particularly to our Spanish-speaking community and provide them with the same information that we've provided previously. Two final announcements. One is that on April 24th, we'll have our Employee Appreciation Day. We're excited about the opportunity to recognize the hardworking employees in our district. I look forward to that, and we'll get together. And co-sponsoring that is our CSEA, Chapter 37, and the Santa Barbara Teachers Association. And I want to publicly acknowledge, and I'll do it again, the hard work that Barbara Chiani does each and every year putting together a great Employee Appreciation Day. And finally, please get out and see the great theater performances that are happening in our high schools, in particular right now. In the Heights at Dos Pueblos opens this weekend, and Spamalot opens on April 26th at Santa Barbara High School. It's great theater at great prices, and we invite everyone in our community to come out and see the wonderful work our students are doing. So that concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Board, comments or correspondence, anything you'd like to share? Mr. Herron?
Thank you. I was asked a couple days ago, sure hope you had some time off during the spring break. And I got to thinking about it, and it dawned on me, and Pedro mentioned it also, why do we do this? And there's just so much going on. I mean, it's absolutely amazing the things that are happening in this school district that directly affect the children. I can't go through them all, but things like the community forum sponsored by Orphala, where they talked about restorative justice to a lot of the community organizations who don't know what it's all about. And I was amazed. I was there, and to hear the discussion and what's going on and how everybody wants to support the effort of restorative adjustment. All these community organizations that Orphala put together, it was basically, what is it? How is it used? Where is it used? It was a very informative evening. The walk through Middle Ages at La Colina, again, amazing. Attending the lotteries for the schools that are impacted that had to have lotteries, like Washington, Roosevelt, Monroe, Adams, just to watch that process and make sure it goes well. And Marlon, Mr. Sumter, does a fantastic job. The ICANN art, I didn't know that display was going to be up there, but the second grade it blew me away to walk through and see that, and also then to see the mural up at McKinley School in their cafeteria that the kids put together. I mean, everybody should see that mural up close. It's absolutely fantastic, and all that art. Grandparents are displayed down at Faulkner Library. High school students, junior high school students have different portraits of their grandparents from different views, different media, but to see how they interpret their grandparents. As a grandparent, it makes you cry a little bit, the way they see it. It's fantastic. Alta Vista, attending the WASC hearing or final report, to hear this group of people who are reviewing our Alta Vista program and all the glowing things they say about it and the process that went through to get those glowing reports. It wasn't a slam dunk. In fact, it's just the opposite. but the entire staff showed up for the report and participated in the review. Highlight that I enjoy the most is things that are really non-academic and non-sports, but I have a picture of one that I attended at Santa Barbara High School, and Salud, our county supervisor, gave the cheer team from Santa Barbara High School an award, proclamation, honoring them for being the national championship cheerleading team for the second year in a row, the national champion. And when I heard Mr. Becchio, the principal, introduce them, his comment was they should be honored first for the spirit and culture that they bring to the school. The trophies are second. But you realize these kids practice and practice and practice. They attend football games, soccer games, water polo games, girls, men's sports. They put in more time than most athletes, and they did a fantastic, they did their winning routine, and it's just marvelous to watch. Those are just some of the things that are going on that I enjoyed dramatically as part of this function of being up here, that when you see the kids succeed and you see the staff working and all that goes on, it's just a real pleasure to be a part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Herron. All right, moving on to announcements of closed session action items. In case 2012/13-03, the board moved to dismiss further action for the student. The vote was made, the motion was made by Ms. Parker and seconded by Ms. Idelson with a 5-0 vote. Also in closed session, the board moved to deny the appeal in case number 2013/14-1. Ms. Parker made the motion, and it was seconded by Dr. Paz with a 5-0 vote. The governing board also moved to approve the appeal of special education dispute, OAH case number 2012-08-0468. The motion was made by Ms. Parker and seconded by Dr. Paz with a 5-0 vote. And now we are moving on to public comments. At this time, I am going to close public comments for our general public comment session.
All right, and as it stands, we have 6 public comments. Speakers, you'll have 3 minutes each. I will try to give you a 30-second warning, and I will announce who's going to speak and then just alert who the next speaker is going to be. So the first speaker is Maria Juarez, and that will be followed by Lucia, and I'm sorry, it's a little difficult to read the... Lucilla Tacadina? Is that correct? Great. All right, so Maria first.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Juárez, mi hija es Jennifer Juárez. Ella está...
¿Me puede disculpar un momento? Voy a invitar a que nuestro intérprete por la noche, por favor, venga también a traducir los comentarios. Disculpe por
Está bien.
la pausa. You know, we have someone actually, but thank you so much. I believe someone is.
Could you check if they're...
Marlon went back
Mr. Sumter went to check. Okay, and here we go. Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Gracias y disculpe la molestia.
Está bien. Ok, mi nombre es María Juárez. Yo soy mamá de Jennifer aquí presente, Jennifer Juárez.
Is Maria Juarez?
Sí.
I'm Maria Juarez. I'm Jennifer's mom. She's here now.
Estoy aquí para darles un comentario. Estoy un poco preocupada
I'm here to make a comment. I'm a little concerned.
que mi hija está en este momento en la escuela El Puente
My daughter at this point is attending school El Puente,
y hemos recibido la noticia que la escuela va a cerrar.
and we've been given the notice that, we've been told that the school is going to close down.
Mi preocupación que mi hija está en baja en créditos y no sé qué es el seguir para ella.
My concern is that my daughter is right now is low on credits, and I don't know what will be next for her.
En estos momentos, el viernes tuve una junta con la escuela La Cuesta.
On Friday, I had a meeting at La Cuesta.
Ellos dicen que ella está lista para ir ahí con ellos para completar sus créditos.
They say
ahí.
that she's ready to go over to them to complete her credits needed.
Pero también me preocupa que mi hija no complete los créditos ahí y,
I'm also worried that my daughter would not complete the credits needed there.
y yo no quiero que mi hija se quede sin un certificado de high school.
And I don't want my daughter not to receive a high school certificate.
Eso es lo que quería comentarles a ustedes aquí.
That was my comment, what I wanted to tell you.
Thank you, Ms. Juarez.
Gracias.
Lucila Tecadena, followed by Claudia Lopez.
Thank you, Dr. Cash and Santa Barbara Board. I am also here regarding the closure of El Puente. I worked at El Puente as a special education teacher's assistant from November 2002 through August 2007. And I count it a privilege to have had the opportunity to serve the students and staff there during that time. I recently learned about the closure of El Puente through Cecilia Molina. I called her to share my excitement about a former El Puente student, Edith Rodriguez. Edith represented Santa Barbara City College in Washington, D.C. as the college was a finalist eligible to win the 2013 Aspen Prize for Community Colleges. As you may have learned, Santa Barbara City College was one of two recipients awarded the $400,000 on March 19th. And I think that was awesome. It was an awesome accomplishment. Edith, a former gang member, a young girl on drugs going nowhere fast, would be sitting at the nation's capital with the vice president's wife, Jill Biden. As an alumni of El Puente, Edith is proof of how far dreams and goals can be attained when someone, whether it be a principal, staff, or teacher, counselor, speaks life to them and gives them vision and hope for their future. They're finally able to see outside of their neighborhood. Personally, I have nieces and nephews that went to El Puente. One of them is working in a high-end salon. I have another niece who loved El Puente. If you could experience a day-to-day basis and on a day-to-day basis and see the lives, some of those kids are miracles that they even show up to go to school because their parents aren't giving them the support or whomever it is that they live with. And there's a stigma on the school because it reaches out to gang members or
30
troubled
seconds.
kids. But I even thought that myself when I went for the interview, but I was wrong. And I wouldn't be here if I wasn't affected by that school and the staff there. And I just think it would really be a tragedy to close that school because it's a need in this community. And as you know, the gang activity, I mean, it's life and death, actually. And I just really hope that whomever made this decision really reconsiders because there's a lot at stake. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Claudia Lopez, followed by B. Molina. We've already closed for public comment at the beginning. That's what, yeah.
Hi, my name is Claudia Lopez. I'm currently a student at El Puente. I'm a resident of Santa Barbara. I'm 15 years old, and I've lived a lot in 15 years. A lot of ups and a lot of downs, and a lot more downs than ups. And just like Edith, I was a young girl going nowhere fast. I didn't show up to any of my classes. When I was in high school, I literally had to re-enroll to my high school. So that's where I'm coming from my aspect at a regular high school. At El Puente, and the staff that I met there, they were like no staff at any other school. My first day, they talked to me. How was your day? How's life at home? How do you get to school? They cared, and you could tell that they cared. And they always, always notice if you're not there. So I always show up to school because nobody ever cared about me. Nobody cared about what I did. Yeah, I had counselors and principals and all the same help at a regular high school, but it wasn't the same. They had to focus on 400 different kids at the same time. But at El Puente, I'm here, standing rightfully where I am today. I'm gonna do dual enrollment next fall. I've just gotten off of probation. I got put on probation for various reasons, and I am very happy to be exactly where I'm at, but I'm very disappointed that all of you, whoever it has been, who have chosen to close El Puente, I think it's a shame because that mission statement described El Puente. If you put mission statement colons under it, it'd say El Puente Community High School. That is my comment. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you. B. Molina, followed by Judith Montoya.
My name is B. Molina. Been with the Santa Barbara Mariachi Festival for 13 years, 17 years, and I'm here also representing Milpas Community Action Committee. I mentioned the Mariachi Festival because we have fought hard and worked hard for scholarships. And 13 years ago, we started the scholarships for El Puente and La Cuesta. And you have to understand, we fought hard to make sure those kids would get scholarships because they deserved it. They earned it. It wasn't a giveaway. And some of these kids have been amazing. If you could follow what they have done through college and after college, they are amazing. I'm representing the parents. Parents have asked me to come talk to you. I'm advocating in their behalf because they are worried. They are sick and they are scared. We went and attended Bill Cerrone's board meeting last week to ask him to reconsider his decision to close El Puente. He told us that there was a slimmer of hope and that he had a proposal to you in terms of reconsidering some form of El Puente, and that's the first time we've heard about it. And so part of the parents are here is because we want to know if there is a slimmer of hope. Some of these kids cannot attend Santa Barbara High. They cannot attend San Marcos. The gang the rivalry, the neighborhood clashes that occurred there. Some of the kids, and I don't know, I guess he didn't make it in time to speak, told us at Cerrone's meeting last year that he did not attend school because he was beaten up every day and he hid in the school library on school campus. Those are the type of kids that go to La Puente. It's not that we don't want Santa Barbara High to take care of them. We do. But how are you going to take care of them? How are you going to ensure them peace, safety, and education? And at the long run, what La Puente gives them is motivation. Motivation to continue on and to pursue a career and a lifestyle so different from what they know and what they've grown up. Some of these kids are victims, and we have to understand that. The parents are here because they are scared. They are really scared, and they understand. We've had a couple of kids already apply at La Cuesta, and we're told there's no room for you here because of their academic history. So that's one issue I want you to look at immediately, because we were told that Santa Barbara High will take care of this problem. The parents need your help. The kids need your help. We cannot turn our back on these kids. This is a representative portion of Santa Barbara. And let's be real, why I'm here with the
30
Milpas
seconds.
Community Advisory Committee, what are we gonna do about the kids who can't go to any of the schools and end up in the streets? From the Milpas Association, let me tell you, we are worried. And I know there's representatives here from the county and city who are worried. We've been dealing with the gang problems for many years. We don't even have a handle on it, but we have a handle better than we have. Release these 100 kids to the community. Let's see what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Judette Montoya, followed by Eddie Torres.
Thank you. My name is Judette Montoya. My son, Jacob Escobar, is a student at El Puente School. He attended in 7th grade. He was going through some issues. Me and his father became divorced, and it had taken a toll on him, and he kind of rebelled and was suspended from the school district twice. Ended up at El Puente at 14 years old. He was actually the youngest student there at El Puente. I was very terrified. I was very scared because of the stigma about gangs and different things like that. El Puente was his saving grace. He had the teachers totally reached out to him. They knew he was very young. Mrs. Molina was the first one, and we had a meeting. She made sure to reassure me, to let me know that everything was going to be okay, that he was going to be safe, and that was exactly what had happened. My son has now thrived. He's in 11th grade, and I have continued to keep him there. He only had to go there for 1 year, but I have voluntarily kept him there because he has an ADD learning disability, and is not able to function in a regular school environment. And here he thrives. He's attended surf camp. He is involved right now with Partners of Education, where he's had 2 different jobs. Right now he's working in a law firm, my son. And he's going to graduate he's graduating 6 months early. And I am very concerned because you know what? My son will probably go on and he'll probably succeed. But what about a 14-year-old boy that was in my son's position? What's going to happen to him? I understand there's budget cuts, and I understand there's different issues that are going on, but there has to be some kind of alternative. There has to be something, because if you close El Puente, where are these children going to go? I know. He is my 4th child. All my other children graduated from Santa Barbara High School. They did wonderful. They did great. Nobody had to follow up with them. Nobody had to check on them. If somebody like my son Jacob goes there, he's going to fall through the cracks. And I don't want that to happen to somebody else's child. My child is a success for El Puente. I want somebody else's child to be a success also. Thank you for the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Eddie Torres.
Good evening, Dr. Cash, board members. My name is Eddie Torres, and I'm here as a parent. I'm here as an educator. I've been with El Puente for about 15 years. Basically what I want to do, I want to address the issue of the closure. Again, somebody asked, who is responsible for this or who made the decision, okay? I might know, you guys might know, but the community doesn't know. Again, El Puente has been part of the Santa Barbara community for the past 25 plus years. We've been there to work with those students whose parents didn't take the time to come. Dr. Cash mentioned, we have our academic all-stars. Love it. I love it. Why? Because I think all our children should be academic all-stars. I mean, that's the goal of education. And as Claudia stated, that's our mission statement. That's this community's mission statement. Again, El Puente is closing. When we were told that El Puente was closing, we thought, okay, El Puente is going to close. We thought our particular site, which is in the industrial area of Santa Barbara, and we thought, okay, well, we still have the satellites. The community was never told that, they're satellites. We have one site in Goleta that runs an independent studies, and then we had Summit High, which is there. And again, these sites were, we were told they're going to close too. So then from there, it's kind of like, sometimes I feel like we're on the Titanic. Oh, mind you, the Titanic already sunk. We're on those lifeboats, okay? There with the kids that I've worked over the years, I feel like I'm one of those guys that has made it on the lifeboat with those life preservers, okay? Some of my kids are swimming that way. Some of them are trying to get on, okay? And the Titanic has sunk. I mean, our Titanic has sunk, and I commend you, Dr. Cash, and Fran, and Vice Principal Meister, who have come, and they want to help these kids. I mean, I see them there for the last, few weeks, being there, trying to help, and looking at the academics
30 seconds.
of some of these kids. And mind you, some of them, are shaking their heads like, wow, okay. Mind you, it's 200 credits to graduate, from El Puente with the high school diploma. That's a person who's going to be in the community, serving the community, be part of our community. We are, and we have been a part of this community. And, we want to stay part of this community. Yeah. So, like I said, you guys might know, you behind closed doors, you guys know what's going on. So, please let everyone else know.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. And that concludes public comment.
I'd like to thank everyone for their comments and for raising their concern. I do think it's appropriate that we clarify some of the information. So Dr. Cash, would you please provide a little information for our community about the El Puente School, which is not actually under our purview, but
Yes, El Puente is not part of the Santa Barbara Unified School District. I had absolutely no input into the decision as to whether it would stay open or be closed. I was shocked. We are working hard to meet the needs of the students that are currently attending El Puente. We are working hard to try to develop programs to replace El Puente. We know how important it is to provide needed programs for every kind of student in our community. From the moment I found out, we have put in place a strategy which enabled us to try to schedule meetings to meet with every single student and parent at El Puente, look at what possible options we have for students within our current educational system, and we're currently exploring what additional opportunities we're going to need to offer for students who may not be able to go to Alta Vista, La Cuesta, or one of our comprehensive high schools. We're working very hard on an issue that we were not expecting to have to work on. So I hope that clarifies that.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. And we will continue to work with the Santa Barbara County Office of Education to try to identify the best means to serve our students, but I do want to thank especially the principals and assistant principals at our comprehensive high schools as well as Alta Vista, La Cuesta, who since day one of hearing the news have spent many hours meeting with families and with students to try to identify how to best serve our students. And at the end of the day, I am confident that our district will continue to identify ways to serve our students no matter what happens. We will continue to work to do what's best for students. So thank you for the comments and thank you for the clarification. We are moving on in our agenda to acceptance of donations.
I'll move that we accept them with gratitude.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so we accept with gratitude all the donations.
Yes, you did, and you will speak when that item comes up, G2.
Thank you for checking. All right, so now we're moving on to the consent portion of our agenda. Board, do we have any items that we would like to pull from the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, I will take a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Great.
Second.
All right, any comments, discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we are moving on to our action agenda item. First on the action agenda item is the approval of variable term waiver for a single subject for French and education specialist at deaf, hard of hearing. And Dr. Christensen.
Dr. Christensen's here.
Good evening. Tonight we are asking the board to approve the waiver requests on the two teachers that do not currently hold a credential in the area that they're teaching. We provided the justification for you, written justification. In the case of the one teacher, she has had significant experience in teaching French at the high school, has also been a paraprofessional, and has come highly recommended by the teacher whom she is replacing. And the other situation is a special education teacher who will be working with our deaf and hard of hearing students. She has gone through a competitive interview process. She does have a special education credential, and she is also replacing someone who left unexpectedly in the middle of the year. This is required by education code that you act on this agenda item rather than having it as part of consent. So I'm requesting that the board approve these two variable waivers.
Great, thank you, Dr. Christensen. Board, any comments or questions?
I'll move approval of the waiver for single subject for French and education specialist, deaf, hard of hearing.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we are moving on to approval of resolution number 2012/2013-39 in support of school safety and gun violence prevention. And we do have public comment for this. Should we read the resolution first and then invite public comment, or take public comment? We can read the resolution first and then we'll take public comment.
Should have a written copy.
Yes, we do have a written copy. Resolution in support of school safety and gun violence prevention. Whereas, since 1979, 118,000 children have died from gun violence in America, more than double the amount of American deaths from wars in Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And in the past 25 years, our nation has experienced almost 40 K-12 school shootings that have resulted in 111 students and 26 staff member deaths. Whereas, in light of recent events and these unacceptable long-term statistics, schools are now being asked to increase security while our budgets are capped and/or reduced by cuts in the state and federal aid. Whereas we need better gun control and more mental health services for students and families provided to our schools and our communities. Whereas mental health resources are historically undervalued and have dwindled due to the lack of financial support, reduced state and federal aid. Whereas there have been reductions in the number of teachers, social workers, guidance counselors, psychologists, administrators, and reductions in programs that address the social and emotional needs of students. Whereas state and national education officials and political leaders need to ensure that student safety and mental health services receive as much priority as student performance on tests, new teacher evaluation systems, and other mandates placed on schools. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Barbara Unified School District's Board of Education urges our state and national political leaders to do the following: provide adequate funding to schools and communities to ensure that the appropriate level of mental health, social, and guidance services and resources for the purpose of prevention, support, and response are available to all of our children. Restore and increase community funding for youth and school resource officers, also known as SROs, for stronger school community partnerships. Deny individuals convicted of violent crimes, misdemeanors, or felonies, even when these crimes were committed when they were juveniles, from ever being able to purchase or own a gun. Deny individuals with mental health issues from ever purchasing or owning a gun. Reinstitute the ban on the sale, import, transfer, and ownership of assault weapons. Require every person purchasing a gun to have a background check, and end the gun show loophole that enables 40% of gun purchases to be made without background checks. Impose significant punishments on irresponsible gun dealers. Approved and adopted by the Board of Education of Santa Barbara Unified School District, April 9th, 2013. And we do have public comment for this.
Yes, Tony Wellen, followed by Kate Connell.
Good evening. I'm Tony Wellen, Chair of the Coalition Against Gun Violence, the only gun violence prevention organization on the Central Coast. Been here for 18 years. I want to applaud the board for the resolution. It's very comprehensive. We know that what happened at Sandy Hook could happen anywhere. Our mutual goal is what we can do to keep our children safe. In Santa Barbara, schools wants to do something meaningful. If you want safer schools, we need to look to the primary cause, easy access to firearms. The first line of defense are those parents who choose, as is their right, to have guns in the home. Coalition's message and our purpose here is to ask the school board to take meaningful steps to inform every parent about the Child Access Prevention Law. In every school shooting except Columbine, the guns came from home. In October 2012, the American Academy of Pediatrics published a statement. There's new and better data that although the safest home for children is a home without guns, that parents can protect their child simply by keeping a gun unloaded and locked with the ammunition stored separately. In a study of 90,000 students, the presence of a gun in the home, even if not easily accessible, increases the likelihood that teenagers will think about suicide or get involved in violent behavior. Are other school districts disseminating this information? Yes. Statewide, Santa Cruz and Nevada counties and other districts are discussing how to disseminate this information. We have given presentations to preschool parents and other groups, and a support letter from the Lou Grant Parent-Child Workshop is in your packet. Superintendent Bill Cerrone edited the memorandum that is in your packet and suggested we email it to Santa Barbara school districts, high school principals, so that the memo and the flyer could find its way to parents. This is the flyer. To
30
merely,
seconds.
to merely pass a resolution is not sufficiently proactive. Our suggestions, parent assemblies, get involved in the National Ask Day. Where is there a gun where my child plays? And get kids to sign the student pledge. CAGV is ready to do whatever we can to get this information to parents to achieve the best violence prevention possible in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kate Connell.
Hi, I also want to applaud you on this great resolution. I'm a parent of 2 students. My 5th grader was just recognized here for her achievement on the STAR test, Rose Natus, so that was kind of a nice coincidence that I was here for that. And my son is at Santa Barbara High. Well, along with other parents, we put together a petition, which you were probably receiving emails about through Sign On. I have a paper copy to give to you all. I do agree with Tony as far as that the resolution is great, and it's one of the reasons that I began having the conversation with Monique about it back right after the Sandy Hook shooting was that I felt that something coming from a body like the school board would have maybe some more weight than just coming from individuals asking the federal government to look into banning assault weapons and increasing the regulations in background checks. So I'm hoping that this resolution will go on to our leaders in the national government. I appreciate that it talks about at a national level. I do feel like it's important for this information about the storage of weapons and ammunition gets out to parents, and the fact that they are criminally liable for an act that a minor gets, even if it's a legally purchased weapon, that if a minor gets a hold of that weapon and commits a crime, that the families, the people who are over 18 who bought the weapon, are criminally liable for whatever the minor does. And in Santa Cruz, the superintendent and I think of the Santa Cruz County board signed a law to, and I believe that the board also put in support that in the registration packets, the orientation packets that families receive, that they would have a copy of the California law saying that families are liable if a weapon is used that hasn't been stored correctly. Sort of, you have the information there. But I have a copy of the thing that the Santa Cruz superintendent signed, and I would hope that that's another action that the board could consider, is that next year in the fall, that every family in the Santa Barbara School District will get a copy of this law so they understand how important that is and the connection between school shootings being done by legally purchased weapons
30 seconds.
that were obtained by the minor who committed the shooting. And I think that's all. I'm really excited that this is happening, and I totally support it and hope that you all vote in support of that. And I'm going to hand you these things.
Thank you.
Over 250 people signed the petition.
We got emails. Thank you. Board comments, questions? Ms. Parker?
Well, I mean, I'll say that beyond the all too frequent school shootings, which are just horrific, large tragedies on a daily basis, I know that we all read sad stories that involve children and gun violence, and it's usually around storage issues, handling issues, or impulsive suicide. And I only wish that we could do more. But I very much appreciate the parents and other community members who step forward to speak their minds and to let us know how they felt. I certainly agree with them, and I'm happy to support this.
Mr. Herron?
Yes, I'm also want to thank the group who put the petition together. I enjoyed receiving those on a daily basis. And it was very nice looking at the laundry list of names and seeing people I recognize and appreciate everything that they do. I would hope there's ways we can distribute this information, whether through the school safety plans, through PTAs, through the fact that we now have a resolution gives us more leeway to put the word out. But as new families come into the district, or as we register people, they get a packet of information on this resolution and this topic it's an education process, and we have access to the parents, so I hope we can educate the parents.
Ms. Idelson?
I also feel as a community, this is a great statement to make to our city and the students in our district. And as parents, I think it's so important that we voice a concern and then put together something to show that action. Thank you.
Dr. Paz?
Likewise, I think one of the things that I've said before is that for parents, I think it's really important that you all have a sense of that you're sending your most precious ones to schools and know that they'd be safe. And so I think it's this resolution is reflective of our combined board. This is before we voted. Failing of that, and the importance of having that said to the community is really, really critical at this point in time.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank all the parents who organized this. I think that one of the things about our democracy is the ability to elect folks into office and also communicate with them and speak with them. This was, I know that my conversations began with parents immediately, within minutes, hours of the Sandy Hook incident on December 14th. So I too would like to support Mr. Herron's comments about making sure that our parents know the law. I think that we want our parents to know the law, and there's a lot of good information, and I think I really want to be confident that our district does everything we can do, because I never want to see ourselves in this situation and wonder, could we have shared some information? Could we have done something and regret it? Because what happened that day and what has happened other days, I think, is too horrific to see repeated from district to district. So I really want to make sure that our district does whatever's within our means to make sure that parents and families know the law, they know the information. So I think that that's really important. And I know Dr. Cash actually has taken some steps and had some conversations about with some of our principals and leaders, so maybe he would like to share a little bit about that.
Sure. We got one of them in the back, Mr. Vecchio, Santa Barbara High School principal. All of our secondary principals have reached out to their PTA, PTO presidents regarding this issue and are looking for the best way to bring the information forward to their parent communities at their school. I discussed with one of the PTA presidents at the school I was visiting today what they would like to see happen, and that's certainly something that will probably happen at that school. So I think that's a great way to get the message out, is to have our principals and our PTAs working hand in hand about how best to educate parents on what the California law and what the national laws are in relationship to gun control, gun ownership.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. So now,
I'd like to move to approve resolution number 2012/2013-39 in support of school safety and gun violence prevention.
Second.
Right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. And now, we also have another resolution, an exciting one. A resolution in support of recognition of April as National Autism Awareness Month. And so we do have that resolution, but I believe Mr. Herron is going to read.
Resolution number 2012/2013-40. Resolution in support of recognition of April as National Autism Awareness Month. Whereas April is recognized as the National Autism Awareness Month by the Autism Society of America and Autism Speaks, and whereas autism spectrum disorders are a continuum of developmental disorders that impact individuals in the areas of learning, communication, and social interactions, and whereas 1 in 88 American children are on the autism spectrum, and 1 in 54 boys in the United States is identified as having an autism spectrum disorder, and whereas autism prevalence rates are growing and is the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States, and whereas each student with autism spectrum disorder has a complex and individual constellation of strengths, needs, gifts, and challenges, and whereas the goal of the National Autism Awareness Month is to provide the opportunity for the community at large to join together in raising awareness and increasing support for individuals with autism spectrum disorders, and whereas the Santa Barbara Unified School District embraces this affirmation and pledges to provide a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment for each student with autism, and whereas Santa Barbara Unified School District currently is responsible for the education of approximately 121 students with autism, whereas Santa Barbara Unified School District commits to early intervention and research-based best practices so that students with autism have the foundation they need to access a full and successful life in support and beyond, and whereas Santa Barbara Unified School District recognizes that strong and collaborative efforts among families, schools, and communities are necessary to build these foundations, now therefore be it resolved, I think that I might need some tweaking there, that the Santa Barbara Unified School District Board of Education continue to support the efforts of staff members, families, and the community that work together to provide success for every student with autism.
And we do have public comment on this as well. Marcia Eichelberger.
I know you're all shocked to see me here. Good evening, President Limon and members of the school board, Dr. Cash, and administrators, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marcia Eichelberger, and I'm the president of the Autism Society of Santa Barbara and also the Autism Society of California. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to address you this evening. April is Autism Awareness Month, and according to the CDC, 1 in every 50 school-age children is now being diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. That's 1 in every 31 boys, or in very immediate terms, 1 student in every other classroom throughout Santa Barbara Unified School District. Data from the California Department of Developmental Services reveals that in 1987, fewer than 2,800 individuals statewide had autism. Today, there are over 72,000 people with autism statewide, and more than 90% of them are age 21 or younger. We as a community can't delay in stepping up our commitment to provide effective, evidence-based intervention for students with autism. It's time for every parent and agency that serves our kids to join together in a strong and cohesive fashion to develop programs to serve our kids appropriately. The Autism Society of America established April as National Autism Awareness Month in 1972, when the prevalence rate was less than 1 in 10,000. Today, this observance continues to provide an opportunity for the Autism Society, its state affiliates, and members of the community to continue to educate the public about this disorder. The catastrophically high and continuingly increasing rate of autism among all races, ethnicities, and social groups points to an ongoing need for education and awareness. Autism is only effectively tackled by the strong-willed and the strong-minded, those too stubborn to give up or give in. For those who ultimately find a path to success, it's not without many years of self-education and advocacy. Toward that end, ASA Santa Barbara is proud to announce that we're partnering with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff to bring an autism-specific safety and first responder training to Santa Barbara free of charge on April 25th. In the morning, all law enforcement and public safety agencies throughout the county are invited to attend a professional training by a veteran law enforcement officer who's also the father of a child with autism. And in the evening, parents, educators, and other community stakeholders are invited to a second presentation which will address safety issues for individuals with autism at home, in school and in the community.
30
ASASB is
seconds.
the only autism-specific organization that provides local support and resources for individuals and families affected by autism throughout the county. Through our 4 pillars of advocacy, awareness, education, and support, we dedicate ourselves to empowering people to succeed in living with autism. Thank you for bringing attention to autism with your resolution and your commitment to our children with autism and their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board comments? Mr. Herron?
I would like to move approval of resolution number 2012/2013-40.
I'll second that.
Great. Any discussion?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to all the great families that are here with their kids. I feel like as a board member, I have learned so much, and I've learned so much thanks to parents and parent advocates and the outreach that you do. So I know that certainly those of us that have sat on the board for a while and our new board members as well will have that opportunity to learn about autism and to connect with our own students. We definitely appreciate everything that they give and everything that they have as gifts for the rest of our community too. So thank you.
And I would like to, one, encourage the media that's here to make a note of April 25th and maybe put it in and make sure the community knows about the emergency response specific to students or families or individuals with autism. But I'd also like to echo the thanks because I feel that one of the things in the short time that I've been on the board, not just the education piece for the board members, but really the collaboration piece with the district as a whole has been an important piece. And I appreciate all the families that have been involved to collaborate with our district to do good work. I know that at the last Special Education Parent Advisory Committee meeting that I attended, there was a workshop immediately after that I believe Ms. Rodriguez and district helped put on. But everything we do, I think, is important to continue the communication. And I was so pleasantly surprised. I think there were a couple or a few of us there, but that for the first time, as I watched parents roll into this meeting, there were a lot of Latino parents. And I have to tell you that we've began to shift, I think, the culture of thinking about how we serve all of our students, how we serve students with special needs. And now more than ever, I think communication and collaboration is key. And I appreciate that our district, has gone through some hard times, but I feel like a lot of the families have never given up. The district hasn't given up. And we're all moving together to try to do what's really best for our students. So I thank you for all of those involved. I would be interested, Ms. Rodriguez, to know what happened. What did we do that was different at that meeting? Because I have to tell you, in the 3 years that I've been on the board, that was probably the first time where I saw an overwhelming number of Spanish-speaking families attend these meetings. And I was like, wow, what's happening here? And that was great. And I think that the information is needed across the board. So so thank you to all involved. So Dr. Cash, anything you'd like to say, or did I just put you on the spot? Sorry.
No, I'm ready for the vote, so
All
I can
right.
send this off to all of our legislators and let them know that this is something that our district believes in, so.
Thank you. And we do have a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have approval of priority list for current measures Q 2010 bond fund projects. Dr. Cash?
Yeah, well, I was really happy to see Carl Mayrose sneak into the back along with Kelly Coltrip, who's been really helping facilitate this. I had to share with the board that Mr. Hayank is, for very important and personal reasons, unable to be here this evening. So there's two items on the next two agenda items, Measures Q and Measures R. And what I wanted to do is just very briefly just give a little background information about it so that we're all kind of on the same page in relationship to this. So I'll start by saying that in relationship to Measure Q, that's our secondary bond. and we currently have a little more than $10 million in cash on hand. We have the authority to sell approximately $42 million more in bonds, which we're hopeful, we're anticipating the possibility of that occurring. We'd like to get some projects started this summer and take advantage of the opportunity that students are not in classrooms. We asked both Carl and Kelly to put together what we call the critical projects list, items that they thought were probably high in the need that could be accomplished within the $10 million, because that's the amount of cash we had on hand. And that is what has resulted in, I'll just take them one at a time, the list for Measure Q. One of the two unique items in Measure Q is that for Santa Barbara High School and Dos Pueblos High School, you also have a unique opportunity to take advantage of the partnership with our parent and community who are, have substantially fundraised to help complete the project, and for both Santa Barbara High School, who you heard from earlier in the school year, and Dos Pueblos High School. So we'll do our best to answer the questions as best as we can. I think it's important, despite Mr. Hetyoung's absence, that we do have this conversation and receive direction from the board so that we can, if necessary, move forward. The last thing that I would say is, as board members are aware, we will have an in-depth facilities workshop within the next four weeks, I believe. And at that workshop, the board members will be given a complete analysis of all of our facilities. Assessment has done by our consultant, Mr. Coltrip, as well as an estimation of what each project would cost, and then the total cost and how we might accomplish those projects. So with that, we're ready to take questions, listen to comments, and hopefully give you answers.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Board questions, comments? Ms. Parker?
Well, I had lots of questions and comments that I did let Dr. Cash know ahead of time, and got some answers, but I want to share those with the public, and some of them are relevant to the secondary bonds, and some are for elementary, and I will ask some of them once and some of them twice. And I don't know if Mr. Weniger is here to talk about elementary, or maybe Mr. Mayrose is going to be able to cover both sets of projects.
We'll do our best.
Okay. But my first concern was, were there any, in the secondary district, were there any projects that we have Division of State Architect approval on?
No.
that we wouldn't be able to start because we don't plan to sell bonds until August? That was my first question.
At this time, no. But we have several projects in DSA, and it's a, Mr. Mayrose has to deal with this on a daily basis, so he will probably be more eloquent in speaking to the frustrations of the Division of the State Architect. It's sometimes feels kind of like a black box. We stick the papers in, and we don't know really what happens until they tell us. So.
All right, well, maybe Mr. Mayrose could answer this question. You have things into the Division of State Architect. Are there any that you expect to get back before August?
We have one project that we expect to get back from DSA in July, perhaps towards the end of July, and that's the Santa Barbara Junior High School classroom science renovations.
All right, but that's going to be pretty close to August.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank you. Because I hated the idea of delaying projects just because we're staggering how fast we sell the bonds in order to keep the rate at a certain level. It's a trade-off because I know that the community also expects us to take action and to get these facilities updated and upgraded. And so I just wanted to be sure and let the community know that in the secondary district, this isn't going to significantly delay any projects, the fact that we are not planning to sell bonds until August. The other question I had, and this covers both elementary and secondary, and that is, can we not bid? Obviously, you could put things out to bid and start, you're not going to pay all the bills. We would have all the bills, we'd have money for the bills by August if we sold in August. Is it not possible to sell, to go ahead and bid ahead of time?
Sure, it is possible, but I think that would be might have some issues in relationship to our fiscal accountability with, because we don't have the cash in the bank when we're actually telling people to come build our projects. And there would be issues, I believe, in relationship to when the bonds got sold, even if they were authorized by even if the board said, yes, go ahead and sell the 60 million remaining in bonds. There could be issues related to when those bonds go. And we could have some problems in relationship to projects we had started and made promises on with no cash in the bank.
All right, thank you. And in terms of the priority list that's there for secondary, I personally, I respect the recommendation from facilities on this. I know that you've tweaked it as best you can, and
Not easy. Yeah.
and I'm excited about what is going to be able to happen this summer, or to get started on this summer. One quick question on the La Cumbre Theater renovation. That's a fairly major renovation. Is the theater going to be closed down for the next school year, or is that just a summer?
We don't believe we'll start that project this summer.
Okay.
Right now, our schedule for starting that project is in December.
Okay.
So our plan would be to shut it down in the beginning of December and have it open by August of 2014.
Great, thank you.
Did you want to ask the questions on Measure R?
I thought I would wait until
Okay,
that agenda
all right.
item.
Sure.
Mr. Heron, did I?
Yeah. I take a little different position on this issue. Back in March, I sent a memo to Dr. Cash and the people involved, and I asked a simple question. I would like the board to have suggestions on the priority projects that would start immediately if the only funds available are the $3 million plus in the elementary district and the $10 million plus in the secondary district, on the presumption that we don't know if we will get more money in August. That's a presumption that I'm not willing to accept at the moment. And the list I got back was different than this list. And maybe Kelly could answer, because I don't mind this list, but I would like to know the things that are different in the priority list that I received. The La Cumbre Junior High School, $3 million wasn't on it, nor was the Dos Pueblos field replacement, and that hasn't been on any list that I know of from a priority standpoint.
Well, I can address that question.
Well, I can, I know what the answer is, but I'd like to go through what I'm talking about first. And in addition, the junior high school asphalt of $736,000, that's about half the suggested project that we had received. The Glida Valley Junior High School roofing replacement is about half of the list I received. The La Colina Junior High School roofing replacement is about half of what I received. And obviously, we've taken those away to fund the theater renovation and the field replacement district. And what was on the list that's not here anymore is what you mentioned, is the science lab at Santa Barbara Junior High School. And if you make the assumption we won't have any more money, I guess my question is, why are we just doing half of these projects at this time? Who determines what half we're going to do? And there must be a logical explanation of that, that our facilities people have thought about. But I'd like to know just the explanation of how it was determined to cut everything in half, and hope that we have more money, I guess, in the future to do it. And what's more important? Is the theater renovation more important than roofs on 3 of our campuses, or is it more important than asphalt on the junior high school campus? Is it more important than the science lab? And then, as people probably know, I voted against the Santa Barbara High School gym process a year ago or whenever it was. But the board did go forward with it, and I support it totally now. I'm just sad that it's $400,000 more now than it was when we voted on it. Dos Pueblos, obviously, I think the answer is probably because we have people who will donate money, and so we get bang for the bucks 2 to 1. But we did the San Marcos field replacement, 100% financing from the community. The gym, Santa Barbara Gym, we're getting 30% from the community. And here in Dos Pueblos, we're getting 50%. It just seems 30, 50, 100. The Matt Academy was 100%, other than the 500,000 we used from developer funds. The Engineering Academy was 100% donations. It doesn't seem we have consistency in 30, 50, 100. I'm just concerned about the lack of consistency and how something can get, I mean, that 625,000 for the field replacement could pay almost for the science lab. And with all the emphasis on parcel tax money going to science, STEM, and I just wonder how we balance these things out. We do so much for athletics. We do so much for, and people donate to athletics, but they're not going to donate for a roof. They're not going to. They pass the bond money to pay for roofs, to pay for our facilities, and yet we seem to be able to spend it other ways when it gets right down to making these decisions. So I'll let Dr. Cash now convince me why Dos Pueblos should have 625,000, and why we should allocate $3 million for the theater when maybe some other things, if we don't get any more money, the money might go better for those. I'd like to know from Stacy or anybody, what went into the decision to cut most of these things in half from the list of priorities that our experts had advised us, in their opinion, should be done?
That was my decision. These are my priority items in consultation with Dave Hetjunk, Kelly, Carl, everybody. And so the list that you see is based upon your question. If we only have $10 million or $10.9 million, what would you recommend be put on the list? So that's what this list represents. And the theater is on there because if there is no money raised, it would be, there's very little likelihood that that would ever happen. And it is an incredible asset to the community. And as far as athletic fields go, I think there's a good argument that we pay the least amount of attention to our athletic facilities. And I think there's quite a few people that would make that argument. But, I mean, that's why how the decision was made. Not every roof is the same, as you heard Mr. Coltrip talk about when he gave that kind of brief report on our facilities. Some roofs are worse than others. And the idea would be that we would replace the roofs that needed to be replaced the most right away this summer. And you're right, this priority list is based on an assumption and a belief that the board will at some point take up the voters' authorization and sell more bonds. Because not only do we have $60 million worth of projects that we're authorized to complete, you'll find in the facilities assessment that we have 3, 4, 5 times that amount of projects that probably need to be done.
Thank you, Dr. Katz. One other question. I was concerned that one other thing was left off this list that was on the priority list I received, and that was the new roof above the Santa Barbara Gym. We're going to spend $1.2 million renovating the gym, but we're not going to do anything with the roof. I guess my question would be, what's the status of the roof? Is it going to, in the next rainstorm, going to leak and ruin all the stuff we've done inside the gym?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, I can tell you that the roof is in need of replacement, and we had a similar situation when we did the new floor at the San Marcos High School gym. And that's been, what, 3-4 years since we put that floor in, and we just now got a new roof on it this year. So it is something that I would like to see happen. It would be beneficial. If it doesn't happen, we'll take care of it and patch it and keep it going as long as we can until the funds do become available. But this would be a time to replace it. One of the issues, and I have to acknowledge Kelly's contribution on this and his advocacy, we also have an aging and failing mechanical system in there. But, and the time to replace it is when you're doing the ceiling, as we are doing in this project. So it'd be great if we could proceed with doing the mechanical and the roof. However, that also means going back to DSA again. We've already got DSA approval for the project, so that could also result in possibly some delays, or we could possibly change order it in, but you're right about that. We do need to consider replacing that roof.
And we're in a conundrum because we didn't have a facilities assessment done before any project was prioritized. We now have that completed. And that assessment is going to be in a very, I believe, a very important document in providing answers to the questions that you've asked and helping establish the priorities. We're just trying to get some projects started for this summer based upon the fact that if there is no further bond sales, what is it that we're going to do? And this was just my list. This is not, it was my recommendation. I fully expect the board to not vote it up or down, or to tell me yes on this and no on that. So, but in a best case scenario, we would have had that facilities assessment quite a while ago, and we wouldn't be having this conversation because you would have already prioritized the projects based upon the needs of our buildings. So we could wait until after the facilities workshop, but kind of what I'm hearing from Carl and Dave and Kelly is that if we don't get some projects going now, we won't get them done during the summer. And we definitely have needs. We'd have to wait another year.
On the items that are basically cut in half, part of those dollars are soft costs. Do we pay a lot of the soft costs, even though we don't do the whole project? Are the soft costs going to be more by doing half than if we did the whole project? Is the bulk of the soft costs up front?
Well, let me give you one example that you mentioned earlier, and that's the Santa Barbara Junior High School asphalt. You mentioned that that project was cut in half. We were directed to reduce the scope of the project for the first phase and split it into 2 phases. So what we've actually done with that project is we've asked a civil engineer to do we've got the surveying done for the entire project, but we have only designed half of the project. But the half of the project we chose is the half that's the primary playground area for the kids, and it is also taking care of all of the drainage, which was a huge problem on that site. So we're now able to we're going to be able to get all the water off the site. So that gives us a little breathing room. And the money that we would have spent on that extra asphalt, which would have probably been, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, at least $200,000 or $300,000, probably quite a bit more than that, we've been able to move around and put into some of the other areas, such as the roofing. It's at Goleta Valley and La Colina. So it's really, and in fact, I have to acknowledge your role in this, because the last time I was up here talking about the photovoltaic project at San Marcos, you asked a very astute question of, have we looked at all of the roofs? And are we just replacing the roofs at San Marcos to move forward the photovoltaic project, or are we doing this in a conscientious and thoughtful manner? And we try to do that all the time, but every now and getting that little pinch is a good thing. So that did cause us to be very careful when we were looking at this list and make sure that we were addressing what we felt are the key priorities and the most pertinent issues in the district at this time.
Okay. When we start repairing the ceiling in the gym, I remember we started repairing the ceiling in the Matt Academy and found that the rafters and the roof we had to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody looked at the roof from that standpoint? Are we going to find a bunch of rot when we take off the ceiling tiles?
Well, it's not a tiled roof, but it's
Well,
possible.
the internal
Yeah,
tiles.
it's possible. It's always possible when you open up a roof like that you'll find something. This summer we did the HVAC project at Dos Pueblos, fully expecting to take the roof or the roof off of that gym and find major problems because there were leaks down into the gym, and there weren't. We were amazed at the good condition it was in, and it hadn't had any work for a very long time. So it's kind of a crapshoot. You take it off and see what you have.
I just have a point of clarification. This is a priority list, but is it in ranked order?
No.
Okay. And Dr. Paz, I think, has a question or comment.
No, I was actually answered by you when you started talking about the asphalt at the junior high, and I was wondering what part of the asphalt was going to be addressed, but you already addressed that. Thank you.
Ms. Parker?
I guess I need clarification on a couple of points. One is the La Cumbre Theater. If it is not starting until December, is it necessary to have the $3.5 million set aside for it now?
Only if this list came about as a result of the construct of we have no
All
more
right,
cash.
so when I have been, I guess I feel blindsided because in the previous discussions that we've had about the bonds, this district has never not sold its bonds. And I guess my concern with this priority list is that if there are board members that are really serious about not selling bonds in August, because to me, when I was thinking about it, is it June, July, August, when do we sell the bonds, not if we sell these bonds, then we have not let the community know in any sort of meaningful way that their projects that are very important to them are at risk. And I don't know that you'll have quite as much drama in the secondary district. I do know that in the elementary district, you'll have 100 parents in this room. And so I feel like if we need to take action preemptively, or we need to have the discussion about the bonds right away, even if we're not going to actually take action until August. How do we balance this? How does the community know? I mean, I can't believe that I would take a vote tonight and essentially say, these things are off the table in the future because the board may not pass bonds in August or might not vote to sell bonds in August. I just feel like this is cart before the horse. I think that we need to let the community know that this is a problem, that this is a concern, or else the board needs to take action, and the board needs to take action on even the idea of selling bonds in August.
Yeah, I'll jump into that one. I remember, Mrs. Parker, at the last meeting, we talked about the bonds. You said, I sure hope the community understands and we get the word out to the community about the problem we're in. Because we promised in all of our discussions, we promised the voters a certain tax rate. I even wrote a note to Eric Smith. I said, we've got a problem. When are we going to be able to sell the second round of bonds? And the answer he sent me back was 2015. Well, we went ahead and sold some more, a year ago, well in advance of 2015. And all of the charts we show, or that we have received, show that we intended, as the existing bonds went down, we would open up a gap and we could sell more and keep the same rate. Our rate is now at 17, and if we go ahead and sell bonds, it's going to be at 18. I think the community needs to know that we're not going to be able to abide by what we promised them when they voted on the two bond issues, because we're going to be up in the $18 to $19 range rather than the $12 and $13 range. So when I say I don't know for sure we're going to do that, and you might be right, the parents, the community may want all this done, but at the same time we have to educate them that we're not going to be doing it by the terms of what we told them when we got them to vote for the bonds. That's the dichotomy I find myself in. Am I willing to saddle? And when I see the amount of money we have obligated our community to 30 and 40 years from now, to me, it's mind-boggling. It's a huge sum of money, and it just concerns me. So I want a full discussion on the bond issue, knowing exactly what we're telling the community you're going to be paying for, your kids are going to be paying for. I won't be paying for it 40 years from now, but it's a big dollar number. And so I want us to be able to talk about that. That's why I asked the question, what if we don't have any more money, how would we spend it? And Dr. Cash has said this is how it's going to be. And I will accept that, other than Dos Pueblos High School.
And I am going to jump in because we clearly can't have that discussion because we're not agendized to have the bond selling discussion. But I do need direction from this board. If we're not ready to make a decision on this tonight, I need that direction from the board as well. So if that's the case, I would hope that you would let us know.
What we're trying to do is to avoid what's been happening from my experience the last 2 years, and that is just approve one project here and one project there. We're trying to be more systemic, more targeted, more strategic in what we're doing. Hence why we've assessed all of our facilities, and we'll have for the board, we could have it sooner than then, but felt at a workshop we could have a comprehensive conversation about the facilities needs of the district. And from that conversation, it was believed that there would then be direction on authorization or request to look at selling additional bonds. Trust me when I tell you, we have done all of the research up to date on what additional bond sales would look like, what they would obligate the community, what kind of bonds we can sell, at what repayment ratio, at what term. There's a lot of work that's been done in relationship to that, anticipating that there might be a request to have that as a discussion at your level. We're prepared to facilitate that discussion whenever you're ready. The purpose here was simply for us to be able to take advantage of what we see as an opportunity to start some projects this summer, answer Mr. Herron's question on what if there is no more money, and take advantage also of our parent groups that are interested in having projects done on their campus and willing to support those projects. So if the board is interested at the next board meeting for us to bring forward our proposal on further bond sales and the date that we would propose selling them at, we're ready to do that. We think we could probably accomplish that. There's a lot of work, little detailed work that we're going to need to do. And one thing I want to make sure that the community understands is that you don't set the rate, the tax rate, as a board. And I understand Mr. Herron's concern and frustration over the tax rate raising, but that's not something that you as a board have really the capability of controlling. And we, at our facilities workshop, we will have Ed Price here to explain how that process works with school bonds. So I would imagine this is probably what we're talking about applicable to the next agenda item. So you please tell us what you'd like us to do. We'll go do it.
Ms. Parker?
All right, well, speaking on the two items at this point then, what I said at the last meeting was that as difficult as that is and as disappointing as it is that the rates will be higher, that we would have an even greater outcry if we did not move forward with the projects as we promised to the community. And I have to speak with a parent hat on now, as an Adams School parent who has now been waiting 15 years for the library to be built that was originally promised in 1998, that I know that you will have a room full of Washington and Adams parents here on the next agenda item if the idea is that this board would not move forward, that you'd only have this limited amount of money to spend, and they would have a lot to say. And it may be that this board would vote not to sell in August and that that's the way it is. But I know as a parent that I would have wanted to know ahead of time, that I would have wanted to get up and speak to this board about what the district was doing, where its priorities were. And I just feel like if that is really direction that the board is going in, that we need to let parents know that this is not just the priority for the amount that we have now. This might be the priority forever. And so.
Well, if I may interrupt you, if the question to me was, is this the priority forever, this would not be the list you would receive.
Well, but that is what Mr. Herron was essentially saying, that at least until the next, bond cycle or another election, something like that. So.
Well, maybe I didn't understand. I interpreted it as if we only have this much cash on hand, what's the priority list?
Well, and that's the way I interpreted it, but that's not what Mr. Herron is saying.
I'm saying for the foreseeable future, if the recommendation at the time was sell bonds in 2015 rather than 2013, that's a 2-year delay. And I even said to Eric Smith, we should tell people that we don't have money to fund everything we need. It's going to be a while before we get more money. And
I wish I would have been here during that discussion.
yeah,
but I was not.
and the charts we have seen now indicate 2015. But and I'm probably the lone one on the board who has these feelings, so I don't think you have anything to worry about. So, and I would like to see that study as fast as possible, because I think part of the whole discussion would be to make sure the parents understand that if they want their needs fulfilled for the 2 libraries and anything else, we need to hear from them, because we're going to be asking them to pay more money.
Well, one of the interesting things, if I may, just in response to that, is also that if, for example, we brought forward a proposal at the next board meeting, if we were able to, or the first board meeting in May, to authorize a sale in June, I can almost guarantee you that the rate will be different in August because that's when the assessed valuation is completed. So that's why we were kind of hanging on the August date as the date that we would look at doing it, because there could be a difference between those two. And there's also could be a difference because the market is changing as well. The bond market is changing in relationship to the stock market. So there's a lot of factors that, if the board wanted to see that for a possible bond sale prior to August, we bring forward that with those variables.
Could I just finish my comments before?
Yes.
Sorry, Ms. Limon.
I have comments too, by the way.
That, because Ms. Limon asked for direction, my hope would be that we would pull these two items if it doesn't delay any projects to wait a couple of weeks.
Well, it will, unfortunately.
Well,
I could tell you which ones.
Again, I would want to look at it as a whole instead of piece by piece, as Mr. Herron says. But I personally think that we need to have a discussion and action on whether or not we plan to sell bonds in the near future, rather than not. I'm not suggesting June. I personally had thought your argument for August made a lot of sense, but maybe it's just whenever the best time is to do it, and that brings the most return to the district. But I think that we need to let parents and other community members weigh in on this, on both sides, as Mr. Herron says.
All right, and I'm torn. I'm torn because we haven't had the discussion about selling bonds, but because our district has had that practice, I was working under the assumption that we would. I also have no guarantee that the longer we wait, the rate's going to work in our favor or in the community's favor. I've said this since day one. I hope to be one of those individuals that's here 30 or 40 years from now, paying back exactly what I've voted for, and because I think it's part of what we need to do as a community. However, I'm having a hard time with projects that come to us with additional support getting prioritized. And this is not the first time, and this isn't specific to those that are up there. And I do believe it's time that we have some kind of policy for this, because I think Mr. Herron's point about this is very, is it 30% that we're asking? Is it 50%? It doesn't seem equitable. And I also understand Dr. Cash's concern that some school communities will not be able to raise those funds. But I think we need to have a conversation about this. This has happened on multiple occasions, and it's going to continue to happen. And I really do believe that this board needs a policy for this. How are we going to think about this? How are we going to approach it? Or at least if there's not a policy, a discussion. What's the threshold? And so that's part of my reason for seeing a new project that has some great community support, but also I go back to even some of just the little things. How do I prioritize school safety in some ways over some of this? And so I'm torn. I truly am torn as far as how to move forward. I was prepared to move forward and think about this priority list. I would actually be willing to consider an intermediate option that perhaps we vote on, and this might take way too long and it might not be possible, but on 2 or 3 items that we all felt comfortable with, we move those forward so that we don't delay everything, and that at our next meeting, we first have the conversation about selling bonds, and then we finalize the rest of the priority list. I'm taking notice of the time, and I know that this has been a long discussion, but it's a tough discussion to have without the facilities workshop and without the discussion of the sale of bonds. So I think it just makes it difficult for us to go full forward when we don't know what's coming ahead. Yes, Dr. Paz.
I'm not going to make this a longer discussion, but I'm going to be really quick with my comments. I think you're correct in saying that the bonds and the facilities, it's kind of hard to look at them without looking at one and the other at the same time. That's a challenge. In terms of priority, I think I would agree that we need a discussion about how, at the very least, how to approach it. I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point in time where that question you asked is going to be answered, because I think it's challenging. We have different communities across our school district, and some in a better position to step up to the table and some not. And that's the reality. I don't know if we're going to be able to fix that as a board. So I think that's going to be a challenge. And in terms of just how to look at it, I see some of these as coming forward because the money is there. That is reality. And especially in this period of time where we're at right now, I'd have to say that we need to take advantage of that. And that is a challenge. I see both sides of it in terms of the equity, and I am the first one to raise a hand about equity and that making it a priority across our school district. But it's also, this is also a reflection of that reality, which is we have some communities that are a little more able to. I would say that the question you finally asked, which is, can we at least put forward the projects that would be impacted by a delay by not taking action this evening, would be important for me to
You have
understand.
those two in front of you.
Okay.
Items 7 and 8.
So and just for the public, we have the Santa Barbara High School, essentially it's the gym. And we have, for the elementary districts, we have the San Mar.
They're both from the secondary bond. It's the power infrastructure.
Power infrastructure, that's San Marcos.
Can I make one more comment?
Mr.
Yeah.
Herring.
Yeah, I have no problem with going forward on almost all the items, in fact, all of them but one. But if we're going to do them individually, the Santa Barbara High School gym should be done. We voted on that 8 months ago, 7 months ago. It's more money than I like to see. But I presume some of the soft costs have already been paid, so that $1.2 million might be reduced by something. But they've got a lot of fundraising already done. They've got money in the bank. They've got community supporters, including me, sending me a minor amount, but some people major amounts. So we promised that. I don't think we can not do that, and it's ready to go. So I think we need to do that. I'm not really pleased that we cut all these things in half. I don't know how you do half a roof.
We wouldn't do half a roof, we'd just do
Part of a roof.
on one of the
One,
buildings,
yeah,
two
and
of
so,
the buildings.
right, so, I mean, I wish that, that might be different, but I can understand why the theater, if this was only money we had, why the theater would be a good investment of money. If there is a motion to do everything on this list and the elementary school list, which I'm happy with, the elementary is not a problem, I would amend the motion to eliminate the Dos Pueblos High School item on there until we have further information. We haven't even heard about where the $625,000 is coming from, other than it's the Charger Association. But at least on all the other ones, we got a whole plan of how they're going to raise the money, when it's coming in, and who's paying for it. So I'd like more information on that one before voting for it. I think the assumption will be that we will sell more bonds in August, but there'll be a community outreach to make sure the community understands. I understand we don't set the rate. Unfortunately, every single piece of information we put out to the voters, we set the rate.
Yes.
We told the voters what the rate would be. I looked at all the information. Every article, every resolution said the rate would be kept at the same because of the great way we were selling bonds. Turns out that our great way of selling bonds is going to do nothing but increase the rate.
So, Mr. Herring, was that a motion?
That was I would,
So,
well,
okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve for the Measure Q, this list of priorities with the exception of Dos Pueblos High School.
All right, thank you. Ms. Parker, did you have a comment? No?
Not yet.
I do. Actually, I've been
So we do
sitting-
have a motion, so if we,
Oh.
before I take the comment, let me just, do we have a second? I will second that. All right, go ahead,
Can I have a-
discussion, and then we'll.
Okay, I just have a question. Okay, we're having this facilities workshop. We're going to learn more about what desperately needs redoing and what can wait potentially, or will it just be everything in its state and how much it's going to cost and what, I mean, will there be a significant information coming our way so we can say, okay, if we don't do this now, we'll, you know, it's crumbling down further and we're going to pay more, obviously, as time goes on, but how informative will that be with regard to the timing of these items and the prices and the expense and what
Well,
you're...
we'll attempt to provide you with that very specific information, but so far we're only scheduled for 2 hours for that workshop.
Okay.
So, and the preliminary number is north of 300 million. So I don't know that we will be able to get into as much detail as we possibly can, but I will share with you that we will give you all of the detail, and we'll certainly lead you through a discussion about what we think based upon, not what I think, because I'm not the expert, but what people like Carl and Kelly and Dave think are the most critical systems that need to be addressed first, absolutely.
And have these been vetted as a part of that?
Yes,
at the top of the
correct.
list?
Yeah, and the two that you have before you, the electrical infrastructure upgrade and the gym project that's there because it was approved previously. But the electrical infrastructure upgrade at San Marcos, those are high priority things that we need to do.
Yeah, can I address that briefly? Sure. Just last week, I was at San Marcos. We were doing some irrigation and plantings at the Greek Theater. We dug a hole to plant a palm tree, and we ran across the fire alarm and clock circuit conduits. They had disintegrated. The wires were completely exposed and were imminently failing, and we've encountered that every place we have looked on San Marcos High School. So their electrical infrastructure and their low voltage infrastructure is basically shot. Could be a catastrophic failure at any time during school and out of school. That is, in my mind, that is probably the most critical project of infrastructure that we need to face.
And is that due to time?
Yeah, that's the original, it's the original installation. We've already done, replaced most of it at, a lot of it at Dos Pueblos, most of it at Santa Barbara High School. It's old material and it's failing and it's a hazard. It's
And
a safety
underground?
hazard. It's all underground.
Underground.
In fact, we did, the reason this, well, it doesn't show up there, but this is actually phase 2. During the Building B-Wing project last summer, we found it convenient, since we were trenching, to go ahead and put in conduits for the west side of the campus in anticipation of completing this project in the future. So we've already got part of the work done. It also addresses the fact that the existing switchgear and distribution panels, you can't get parts for them anymore. So if they fail, we're down. There are a lot of serious problems with the electrical infrastructure. That's why, in my mind, that's the priority.
So that's a critical
That's a
need.
real
Absolutely.
critical.
Ms. Parker?
I could support, since it would cause delays and it's critical, I could support moving forward with Santa Barbara High and the San Marcos projects. In terms of voting on Mr. Herron's motion for this list as a whole, except for Dos Pueblos, I can't support that without knowing whether or not we're selling bonds in the future, at some point later this summer, because I don't know if this would be my be-all, end-all for the next 3 years priority list, and it doesn't sound like you know that's what it would be, Dr. Cash. And so until I know, I don't feel like I can vote yes for that.
Dr. Buss?
Just a quick question, was the motion by Mr. Herron a motion for all of them except for Dos Pueblos, but Dos Pueblos would come back to us with more information? Is that correct?
Mr. Herron?
That's how it normally happens. When we have a community willing to fund, we usually get it as an agenda item with, what is it, what's involved, who's donating, what type of signage is going to be needed, details. And we don't, this is brand new. I mean, this was not on anybody's critical list that we've gone through for the last 2 or 3 years. So yeah, it would, if they want to come back, make it an official agenda item.
No, I just wanted to clarify that was your intent. Thank you.
And I will just also clarify that my reason for supporting the motion was because I think some things need to move forward. But if there was the feeling that we really were only prepared to support a couple of those things, I would be equally comfortable. truthfully, we meet again in 2 weeks, although we have a lot of special meetings next week. Meet again in 2 weeks, and I would love to believe that the 2 weeks would make a huge impact, but on the time I've been on the board, almost every project is delayed, and sometimes even when we're voting in a timely manner. So I'm not as concerned about the delay if we are able to have the discussion about the selling of the bonds at the next meeting, and following that item, we would vote on the rest of them if that's how the board felt. So I throw that out there. I would be open to hearing how others felt about whether we should vote for the motion that's on the table, or I can find out by taking the vote. So why don't I take the vote? There's a motion on the table to approve the items above with the exception of Dos Pueblos High Schools. And just for clarification, that item would come back to us and it could be put on the priority list in the near future. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
All right, so the motion is dead on the floor.
Did Pedro vote?
Oh, aye. So you voted aye?
Yes.
All right, sorry, I'm sorry. So then the motion,
Quiet,
sorry. So then the motion is can I be clear? 3-2. So we are moving 3-2 with approval by Limon, Herron, and Bass, and no's from Parker and Idelson. All right. It is 8:40. I do feel we might need a little stretch. I think this meeting's going for long. I apologize. I know there's some items, but if we can come back at 8:47 or so, just a quick little stretch. Thank you.
My first no vote.
All right, so we are back on. Thank you, everybody. Now we are on the approval of priority list for current Measure R fund projects. And
So, there's only 3 projects that have been approved by DSA: the Adelante and bathroom replacement, the Harding restroom modernization, and a Harding fire alarm, which isn't on the priority list anymore because the fire alarm's working. We have a total of $3.1 million in cash. As I've stated earlier, we have the authority to sell 18 million more. And if there were bond sales, a lot of great projects could be completed. That would include libraries at Adams and Washington. This list was generated in basically the same way as the previous list was.
great. Board comments or questions? Ms. Parker.
Oh, okay, I'll be shorter this time. And also, I feel like a lot of it was said with the last one, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but what I would say, and the reason I won't vote to support approving this priority list as a summer priority list for projects to get started on, I have no problem with it whatsoever. My issue is that if Washington and Adams parents knew that there might not be any further bonds sold in August, they might want to be at that podium saying, you have $3.1 million, we want you to bank that and use district facilities money that gets saved over the next couple of years so that our libraries can get built, because we've been waiting for 15 years for them. And if we vote now that this is a priority list and this is the way they go, then the community hasn't had the chance to give that input. And so again, I feel like it's important to both know whether or not we're selling the bonds and to give the community a chance to weigh in on it.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Any other comments? I would, at least since I've been on the board, and actually before when I started attending the meetings, I was hearing about these libraries, so I'm a little concerned that they don't make it to the priority list because of the lack of funds. So in this particular case, I think these are all needed, but after the long discussion, I would be okay with holding off on making a recommendation until we know whether we're selling the bonds or not. Otherwise, I think we do need to give the community some heads up. Really, that's all it is, some heads up that this is our list. And yeah. Ms. Idelson?
What was the proposed price range of the libraries when that, I mean, would that be?
They're about 5 million apiece. Both of them are in DSA. We have no idea when they'll be out of DSA. Washington is a little different bird. It needs to be it's the compaction and the, yeah. So that's going to take some time to do before we even start building.
So without bond money, they won't happen, because this is 3 million we're talking about, right?
Unless,
Yes.
as Ms. Parker stated, the board was to engage in a savings program.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be one heck of a savings program. Yeah, it'll be about $10 million for the two, out of the 18 million we still have left. So that is a discussion we have to have. And it might be dependent upon the decision of whether to sell more bonds in the elementary district or refinance again. But these are, I mean, the ones that are DSA approved, like Adelante and Santa Barbara Community Academy, or that's not approved yet, is it?
No.
That's not approved yet, okay.
No.
Both, you know, the restrooms are needed. But if we don't, I mean, we're not going to spend this money on libraries, and we're not going to use this and save enough to spend on libraries in the near future. So I have no objection to going ahead with these.
Is that a motion?
No.
No, okay. Board members, anybody else would like to add any direction?
I
Ms.
think
Edelson.
waiting isn't going to make a tremendous difference. And as Ms. Parker said, I think the community has a vested interest in this as this goes forward, whether, you know, libraries that have been promised for 15 years, I'm sure that would be a major frustration to these parents and, you know, and seeing that. So my sense is to wait until we can see the bond issue through.
All right. Ms. Jate.
Sorry, may I make one comment?
Please.
One thing that I think that really needs to be done on this list is the McKinley second phase, the Hillside phase.
Okay.
I think that's really important. It's not that huge amount of money, and maybe we could at least do that.
I appreciate the recommendation. Ms. Parker?
Well, I guess my question is, could we take action on that in 2 weeks, or is that another critical project?
Well, every project on the list has been determined to be critical. There's more on the list that are probably critical, that aren't on the list that are critical. Once again, the attempt was merely to provide the board with information in relationship to what we could do with $3 million. So if the decision is not to do anything and wait and make a decision as to whether the pot is bigger than $3 million, then we don't have the same issues in relationship to the infrastructure and the gym. Though I think the opportunity to build and replace a bathroom at Adelante needs to take place probably, Mr. Coltrip, during the summertime, is that?
It would begin during the summertime.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that the Adelante restroom and the McKinley Hillsides are really top priorities on this list. Is that correct?
And Harding is in DSA approval also.
So basically the whole list. All right, so.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean-
there isn't as much money, cash in the bank for the elementary schools, and so the list is obviously much smaller and is limited mostly to the projects that are in approval or have been approved.
Board comments?
I'd like to
Mr.
comment
Hearn.
that, you know, these items on this list are the response back from our facility expert as to what are the most critical items with the money that we have in the bank. I think any other decision is going to have to be selling the bonds to do anything more, especially to libraries. So I have no, as I said, I have no problem going ahead with this because there is no other alternative.
Okay. Ms. Parker?
And I have no problem waiting 2 weeks since it doesn't sound like anything's going out to bid in the next 14 days.
I will welcome a motion to either table this for 2 weeks or to approve what is on here. I will also welcome a motion to approve a couple of these items if we don't feel we can do all of them.
I'll move the table it for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Second?
Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So just to be clear, this item on the action agenda is tabled for an additional 2 weeks, so it will come back to us on April 23rd, I believe, or whatever date that is.
It may not, well, yes, we'll bring it back.
Okay. All right. We are moving to the acceptance of Measure R 2010 Citizens Oversight Committee Annual Report, and is that Ms. Jate or Dr. Cash?
Ms. Jate?
Ms. Jate, any introduction?
Not really.
That's okay.
Annually, we have, the committee provides us with an annual report, or provides you with an annual report, and you'll be seeing cues in next next time, board meeting.
Great. Thank you. Comments or questions, board?
Just thank you to the committee.
I'll move we accept the report.
All right, so a motion made by Mr. Herron and seconded by Dr. Bass. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes 5-0. And this leads us to pending approval of the priority list for current measures Q 2010 bond fund projects, approval of the Foundation for Santa Barbara High School fundraising plan for remaining amount due, the large score, and so on. Is that Ms. Jate or anything else?
You've pretty much discussed this.
Board comments, questions? Ms.
I'll
Parker?
move to approve the Foundation for Santa Barbara High School's fundraising plan.
Do we have a second? Any additional discussion?
That includes waiving the exception of AR 7215.
Ms. Parker, does your
Yes,
motion include waiving?
It includes all the recommendations. I'll read the whole thing out. It's recommended that I'll move to approve the Foundation for Santa Barbara High School's fundraising plan for the remaining amount due, 30% of project costs, the large scoreboard sponsorship, the small scoreboard sponsorship, and Resolution 2012/2013-38, approving the use of the leaseback process, adopting plans and specifications, and authorizing the execution and delivery of a site lease and a facilities lease and other acts relating to the Santa Barbara High School gym renovation project.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes 5-0. We are now on the pending approval of the priority list for current measure Q bond fund projects, approval of resolution 2012/2013-37. This is for San Marcos High School electrical infrastructure. Discussion?
I'm going to go ahead and move to approve Resolution 2012/2013-37, approving the leaseback process, approving leaseback process twice. Sorry, adopting plans and specifications and authorizing execution and delivery of site lease and facilities lease and other acts relating to the San Marcos High School electrical infrastructure, PH2.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And I do want to clarify for the public watching or the public here that we did the hard part. We had that really long discussion, so these are going faster because we did the hard part first. And this leads us to our last item on the action agenda, which is student discipline cases.
In case number 2012/13-14, I move to approve the findings and recommendations of the hearing panel for a full expulsion for the remainder of the current spring semester and a suspended expulsion for the fall semester of the 13-14 school year.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
And in case 2012/13-16, I move to approve the recommendation for a full expulsion for 1 calendar year ending April 2014.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We are now on to discuss our conference agenda, which is the discussion of the Memorandum of Understanding between Santa Barbara Unified School District and the Regents of the University of California, Santa Barbara on behalf of the Gewurz Graduate School of Education. And we have Mr. Sumter here to introduce the agenda item.
As I'm sure you're aware, there have been some recent efforts by the community, our private and public-based agencies to address the issues of gang violence, gang activities in our community. As a result, the South Coast Task Force on Youth Gangs was formed, upon which President Limon, Dr. Cash, and I sit as representatives for the Santa Barbara Unified School District. One of the efforts of that task force is to develop ways to identify needs of families and students in our schools that can be addressed through maybe some of the nonprofit organizations or agencies within the community, and trying to make those connections with those families. And to that effort, the strategy team for the task force has developed a project that is titled the South Coast Youth Intervention Project. We call it SKIP for short. And I have asked Saul Serrano, who is the coordinator for the task force, to come and share with you an explanation of what the MOU accomplishes in an effort to be able to identify kids and what those needs are and make those connections through the various agencies that sit on the task force. So I'd like to turn it over to Saul at this time.
Okay, thank you for allowing us to come and share a little bit of the work that we're doing with the task force. And also, I want to take the time to say thank you to the school district for your participation in this effort, which has been going on for a number of years now. And, for a lot of communities, it's hard to engage school districts, law enforcement, city elected officials, community, and all these people together. So as a community, we've been able to accomplish that and keeping the people together to work on this. And one of the projects that we're working on is this project, which Marlon began to describe, is this database, which actually, when it first came to the district, it was a database that Dr. Jill Sharkey with UCSB was going to be working on and putting together. We did start the process at one of the meetings, at the task force meetings, the council meetings. One of the members raised their hand and said, we have a concern. The way it was going to work is that in order for families to sign on to this, permission was going to be given by parents with the release of information, and the probation department was going to gather those permissions. Well, somebody who's a parent also raised their hand and said, we have a problem with that. Do families will they feel forced to participate in this project? And so we actually took it to a group of 30 parents who have kids on probation with gang terms and conditions. And their biggest worry was not what's probation's role. Their biggest worry was that what's the intent behind this database, and how is the information going to be used, and what's the purpose? And for the researcher at the moment, Dr. Jill Sharkey, what was her intent in doing this? Was it going to be another research project with their information? And the families asked this information, and Dr. Sharkey explained this this is not what you think. Our interest in this is not to put any information or anybody at risk or share the information within the agencies, but it's really to identify what interventions youth are receiving in the community across agencies, and to be able to communicate that information, and for case managers to be able to access that and find the gaps in services. Also identify, what youth are where. When we started the South Coast Task Force on Youth Gangs, we had a problem of data. The school district has data, law enforcement has data, probation department has data, community-based organizations have data, and none of it is consistent across the board. And so developing a database where we could track at the minimum youth that are on probation with gang terms and conditions. They might be within the Santa Barbara School District, they might be within the County Office of Education, they might be within the Carpinteria School District. But a lot of these youth move around, whether they're in the juvenile hall institution, whether they're back in the district. And so really tracking them across the whole community has been very important. So we proposed that to the school district. I believe we received approval. A year ago, we were approached by a group, Human Tools, who came to us and said, you know, well, we could develop a technology piece to this project. And, you know, we're going to put this together. We're going to have funding. And so that's where this current MOU came, because of now having a database that is electronically housed outside of the agencies by this Human Tools group. As of this past weekend, we did receive notification from the Human Tools group that they were withdrawing their participation from this project due to the long time that it's taken to gain approval from the county, from the school districts, from everybody on board, and you know all the boundaries and challenges that we've come across. However, as a task force, we're going to be moving forward with this. And instead of having the larger database that, you know, their plan was to put it into motion and to have it grow across the state, kind of like the database that the school district has, but this one would be interagency. And so now the plan is, you know, we're still exploring our options. Some of those options are for our IT departments, whether it be the school district, probation, the South Coast Task Force, UCSB, to develop it. And the whole intent behind that is really protecting, having the firewalls, the security measures, and really having each one of the agencies decide what information they're willing to share. And this is not information on all students, this is information on those students that are identified with gang terms and conditions, whose parents have decided that they will be a part of this database. So it's not all students, it's the ones that we look for to track and to be able to provide the proper interventions. And to be able to, the other piece with the data, with the electronic database or computer generated database, is it would be able to extract real-time data from different networks and the agencies in real time. We'd be able to compile that. Also, kind of like some of the hospitals and medical institutions, what they're doing with giving the patients the ability to look into their own health record. Parents and families would also have the option with this to log on, look at their information, and see when do they have court, when does a juvenile have court, when do they have a teacher's conference, when do, you know, all these things that sometimes parents lose or get lost on, they would have be able would agree to is that we can begin the planning, the designing, and the building of the infrastructure. Currently, there is no community that is doing this with this population. This type of database or a project does not exist in other communities. So we're kind of pioneering this in the South Coast and in the Santa Barbara community. That's about it. I know Dr. Sharkey wishes she could be here so she could share this information in person, but I am here representing the strategy team and the South Coast Task Force and the South Coast Youth Intervention Project.
Thank you, Mr. Serrano. Board, do we have questions or comments? Ms. Parker?
Mr. Serrano, thank you. And as a board member, I am very concerned about security and want to be sure that students' privacy is kept and that it's only families that have decided that they want to be part of this that would be included, and you're making it clear that that's your main goal too.
Right, and the only people having access will also be the agencies that have signed on or have become a part of the MOU. And during the process, each agency will decide what information they want to share. So it's not like you're giving us all the information. It's like, it would probably be Marlon or somebody from the school district to identify what those data sets from the school district would be.
Well, I really appreciate that you sat down with families and got direct feedback on their concerns. I know from our last meeting with the Youth Violence Prevention Committee that there are still people out there that think that this is a questionable idea. And what are concerns that you still hear out there, and how would you address them?
The concerns have been that it's taken too long, one, to do. And it's taken long because we want to ensure that we're doing the proper thing, the legal, of being able to share that information. UCSB has to get approval through the Human Subjects Committee to be able to, because we want to make sure that it's anonymous, that some of the agencies that are going to be reviewing this information cannot identify the youth, but a case manager can look at the gaps and give that information to the appropriate people to connect families and youth with the services. So our intent with all of this is to really benefit the youth and their families and the community, so that we could decrease the youth violence, the level of youth violence amongst youth.
I have a question.
Yes.
So actually, I appreciate your introduction. I think it was really informative. And likewise, I think my initial concern was I just wanted to make sure that if probation officers or entities are the ones asking the families, that the families did not feel like they had to say yes, but that we think about
Right.
what it's like to have kind of an official say, here's something you should do.
And so one of the things we did after actually Dr. Sharkey met with this group of parents twice. She had to go and then they questioned her left and right. She went back and responded with her answers. And what came out of that is that before probation even asked, we had to go to probation and train the field officers on how to ask for this permission in a proper way, how to explain to the parents the intent and the purpose behind it, and to be very clear with that. And when we started the project, before adding the human tools or the service, the computer piece to it, the technology piece, we actually had 30 families sign up for this and give their consent to participate. Then we had to stop and start the process all over again when we came to the conclusion that we needed to do it in real time. Otherwise, Dr. Sharkey was going to need to use graduate students or people to get the information from everybody, tabulate it, and then distribute it with the people that needed to look at it.
And I believe that at one point, and I need clarification, in one of our meetings, it was discussed that the students would be assigned a unique identifier.
Correct.
And which would not be social security or
Right.
Name, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
It
so
wouldn't be named or anything.
or social security. So there's
Right.
just a unique identifier for every
Identifier,
student.
right.
And I guess this is a question for Mr. Sumter or Dr. Cash. Is this agreement lifelong, temporarily? I mean, is it something that should there be a breach of confidentiality that our families alert us to or that we discover, I mean, would it end immediately, or what are the systems in place to think about?
Well, this particular MOU, as Saul had said, is just the phase one piece. So there will be an end to it. This is just the developmental phase. So I don't think there is a question or would be a question about any breach of confidentiality at this point because there's no data collection taking place yet. So if I'm interpreting or understanding this right, phase one develops the data collection system, so to speak. And then there's another MOU that would have to be entered into as far as the actual data collection. At that point, we probably would want to establish some checks and balances in the system to address issues if there is a breach of confidentiality and that sort of thing, and address them through that process as phase two.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions? All right. I believe that there's no objection, and it sounds like this could come back to us for official action in the near future. So, great.
Thank you.
Mr. Serrano.
Can I ask a question regarding that? Would it be okay to place it on consent, or would you like it as a separate action item?
I think we can place on consent. I don't see any nods, so
Okay.
on consent is fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
San Marcos High School new course approval, Introductory Teacher Education ROP program. And thank you very much to the representatives we have here from San Marcos who have been here for a few, if not a couple hours.
The representatives here, we have the two teachers that will be teaching the course, and the person that will introduce them is Assistant Principal Jennifer Foster from San Marcos High School.
Good evening. Well, it'll be nice to know we have electricity at San Marcos High School then. That was good. We are excited to bring this course to the board for approval tonight, Introduction to Education ROP. We have been working to develop, expand, formulate, envision a teaching pathway at San Marcos for quite some time. And now with the support of ROP, we are kind of putting the wheels in motion. There's a lot of excitement around this with community partners and also district schools about not only the classroom component, but also the community classroom and fieldwork component of this class, where students actually get out and get some actual teaching experience and hopefully catch the fever for teaching that will hopefully encourage them to pursue the profession. So I'm going to let Michael Thrasher, he's the instructor for the course, and also Lori Clayton, she's here from ROP, talk a little bit more about the course, and then we can answer any questions.
Good evening, and thank you for hearing us tonight. The course was developed over several years. It started a while ago when we realized we needed to create something for students who are identifying themselves for wanting to go into a career that did not have a pathway in place. We are using some of the data that we're finding from some of our career choices, Get Focused, Stay Focused information, where students are identifying themselves as wanting to become teachers. And we have a teaching major at San Marcos High School as well, where students can get into a program and get into possibly out in the community observing a teacher, but there wasn't anything on campus where we saw that the students could receive instruction on what it was going to be like to become a teacher before they would go off and get a 4-year degree and then get into a credentialing program and then perhaps realize that it was a little bit more challenging than they expected, or that they went into secondary and then they realized they might want to be in elementary. So this was kind of the brainchild of, let's give them a little bit of a taste so that maybe they can decide early on, do they want to go into a credentialing program? Maybe what credentialing programs are good for them. If they want to go into an area like special education or specific science area, what schools have the best credentials for that? And then get them also into a local school where they can observe a teacher or teachers that specialize in that area, so they can get the experience and see what it's like from day's start or whenever they're placed there until whenever they need to return back to their home site, which is San Marcos High School, so that they can watch the teacher run around in the morning and get, run errands around campus, meet with other teachers, possibly even meet with students before class, after class, all of the preparatory items, and eventually get to the point of being able to work with mini lessons in the classroom. So the student response has been very positive. The community response, as Ms. Foster pointed out, has been very good. Partnership with UCSB and Westmont and City College, all on our advisory board. They have expressed concern about the shortage of teachers in the California, especially in the Santa Barbara area, that they are seeing in their programs, which you see on part of the handouts that I handed you. The second sheet is from the California Commission on Credentialing, showing that there's been a sharp decrease in credentialing applicants. And they are concerned because they're seeing their program numbers decrease. And they came to us wanting to be on the advisory committee, saying, we want to be able to help shape this. We want to be able to contribute to what we think students need to know before they get into a credentialing program. So we've incorporated anyone who wants to be involved, administrators, community members, teachers, and again, people that work at the local universities. Our goal long-term is create a pathway. We are looking at getting observations done by Santa Barbara City College to align it with dual enrollment so that the students can receive dual enrollment units and already have teacher education credits before they even graduate from the high school. So that's our long-term plan as well.
Thank you. Board, any questions or comments? Ms. Parker?
It's so exciting to see this because I have to say one of our previous board members, Nancy Harder, this was such a passion for her. She wanted it here so bad for so many years, and it's great to see it finally coming to our district and to San Marcos in particular. I was visiting San Marcos last week, and I was getting some feedback about this already, Mr. Thrasher, from Mr. Behrens, your principal. And he was saying that some of your students had been at Peabody and been getting some positive feedback from Principal Damian Barnett there. So one question I have is just, what are your current numbers? I know that this is your first semester trying it, correct?
We have students that are currently enrolled in a class that mirrors what the eventual class will look like.
Gotcha.
And they are kind of our pilot students just to
Your
see
guinea
how
pigs?
they're doing out in the community and see how the relationship goes with those schools and the different schools that are involved. All the administrators have responded back saying, we would like to have more. As soon as you have more, that register for the fall, whatever your classes may be. Right now, our numbers are extremely low. We're under what our district number would be for a course, but it's funded by ROP, and ROP has thrown 100% of their support behind it. Ms. Clayton is, representative at our site, and Tony Bauer, the director, has said, we're going to push forward with this because we know that it's going to have numbers. Ms. Foster and I were talking earlier tonight about running the numbers at San Marcos probably within like a week to determine what our enrollments were for students who requested the course during spring request for classes for next year.
Gotcha.
We couldn't wait to have that request until fall because the students are requesting their classes now for next year. So we kind of wanted to have it out there just in case we had full approval, and then we could offer the class. If not, then we'd find another location for those kids.
So ROP will support it, even though it may take a year or two to build enrollment up to full
Yes.
capacity? Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. Edelson?
Yes. I had two questions. Have you considered early childhood education also?
Yes, there are some students who have requested that. The only hurdles that we will have to overcome is to make sure that our students that are placed in early childhood education programs, because we have early childhood education program directors actually on our advisory team. And the only thing is making sure that we go through the proper paperwork and procedures to get our students placed on those sites, because the procedures to place them there are different than placing them at an elementary or a secondary school within our district, because we're talking about a private organization or a nonprofit.
And will they need to be fingerprinted and TB tested and all this?
ROP does the verification of the students, and since they're San Marcos students, unless their site, a private organization, early childhood education, if they require that, then the students will have to do that. But working within our district, the students are working very similarly like they would in any other community classroom course on our campuses, where they are not, they don't go through the full DOJ background check.
Got it. Okay, one other thing. You mentioned in the application A to G approval, and it would be in the G elective section, and I'm looking here at the San Marcos, and I don't see it yet. Have you applied?
For
have it approved through the, as a district course first, and
Yes.
it's already approved in the North County as a course, and ROP classes, once they're approved, are actually pretty easy to get added onto your UC list.
Okay, and someone will take that on by?
That's me.
Okay. And will that be done by next year, or, I mean, because I know there's
It
a.
has to be done over the spring and summertime, so once we
Okay.
have approval for the course and we can add it to the district course file, then we can put it forth as a new course. Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay. So yes, it's pre-approved as a G elective, and I don't see any problem with getting it approved and added to the San Marcos UC list.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's important.
Or for any other school too. I don't know if other high schools would want to add it as well later on too.
Dr. Paz?
As a board member who has a wife who's a teacher, I think it's great. So I think that had my wife probably been at San Marcos High School at the time, not that she was a local student, she wasn't, but had she, I think she would have had great interest in taking the course. So thank you for doing it.
Thanks, and I just want to give a shout out from the director, Tony Bauer, that it has been a complete pleasure working with such stellar administrators from San Marcos, Jen and Mike Thrasher, so proactive and dedicated, committed, and then going out with Mike to meet your teachers at the elementary schools and junior high schools, and how fantastic and professional and committed they are. So it's been a total pleasure, the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is exciting. I know that for me personally, I think, wow, they're doing teaching as one certificated program, but there's other certificated programs that we could really use some great pipeline programs too. I know Ms. Dete and I have talked about the importance of speech and language pathologists in really the state and the country as a whole. So this is just exciting because I think it does open up pathways, and I think there's something to be said about it building a pipeline for our own students in our community to consider working here, and there's something really powerful and amazing about that as well. So thank you for doing this.
Could we bring it back on the consent agenda, or would you like to see it as a separate action item?
I believe.
I'd like to approve it tonight, but I know that our president doesn't like that, so.
We told the public that this was just going to be a discussion, but I would be happy to bring it forward as a consent agenda.
Great,
So-
thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, next we have another new course, Dos Pueblos High School, Exploring Computer Science.
So here to describe the course will be Bill Woodard, Assistant Principal at Dos Pueblos High School.
Good evening, everybody. Hello. My pleasure to introduce Kevin McKee, who teaches science and computer science at our high school. He's done so successfully for a number of years. He was honored, of course, by the groups for his work with females in computer science, and you probably remember acknowledging him in the past. He's been teaching computer science, AP computer science at our school for a number of years, but we haven't had an introductory course to that, so we wanted to help that, but he can explain it much better than I can, so I'm just here to give him the shout out and now let him explain it. So.
Members of the board, thank you for having us here tonight. At DP, currently, we have a computer science program, computer science being the craft of actually programming computers. It's not to be confused with fixing computers or using computers to create art. We also have good programs for that as well. In computer science, we have an established program at the very advanced level, AP Computer Science. It's oversubscribed every year. It's a very popular class. Excuse me. And we also have the Engineering Academy, which has its own built into its curriculum. It has a certain elements of computer science. But we have no lower level course offerings for the many hundreds of students that cannot function at those levels, or they're not in the Engineering Academy. So the Computer Science Teachers Association and the Committee for Equity in Computing Alliance created this class in a partnership with UCLA and the University of Oregon and LA Unified as an introductory level class that would broaden participation and increase the diversity of students that pursue computer science education. And it's a modular class, and it while they're programming, it emphasizes greatly the creative aspects of programming. In AP Computer Science, they sit there and pound out Java code all day long, which is great. They love it. But Exploring Computer Science has different modules, and some of them are creating game programs using Scratch, or another one would be Android app development using something called App Inventor, or website development with Dreamweaver. And these modules, in addition to teaching students the craft of programming, also teach them a very creative way of using their programming skills. And it's been rolled out to about 50 schools in California, mostly in LA Unified and a number in the Bay Area as well, and it's been very, very successful. And we saw that need at DP, and we decided to pursue it. So right now, we've opened it up for student sign-ups, and we have also completed our application for UC approval as a G elective, and we're just awaiting feedback on that, and we expect that at any time, since it has been approved in many, many other schools throughout California.
Great, thank you. Board questions or comments, Ms. Parker?
I know Ms. Idelson's going to weigh in on this one too. Because we both have had children that have been very interested in computer science, and Mr. McKee, I want to thank you for letting me pick your brain in the past about computer science instruction. And I know that this particular idea has been something that you've been excited about and passionate about for quite a while. So I'm thrilled to see it coming to the board at this point. And I guess one question I have is, it's open for signups now. Do you have any idea how many kids have requested it?
They're still tabulating. Right now, we are, I think, about 23, 24. I don't have the exact numbers
Okay,
either.
but
We
roughly.
expect between 30 and 35.
Okay, great. And are there any, okay, so they have to have completed algebra, but that's it. And it's for 10th through 12th graders. I really think that this looks great. I appreciate that you're building on what is already out there, and that you took a look and investigated and found something. my one comment really is more of a district comment for Dr. Drotti and for Dr. Cash, and that is that Santa Barbara High is also working on a computer science pathway. And I really wish that the schools were communicating with each other and we're working together for some consistency across the district. It may be that what's appropriate for DP is not appropriate for Santa Barbara High, but I get a feeling that that there could be more communication and more collaboration on this. And so that's for Dr. Cash and Dr. Drotti, not for you, Mr. McKee. And although I certainly hope that you'll be part of that, but I hope that this will also come forward on the consent agenda.
Ms. Eidelson?
I would second that the communication, because currently at Santa Barbara High, an introductory computer course is being taught, and it's sort of had a mixed success. This sounds good. I'm excited to hear you've already got in the works of the G at the UC meeting that requirement, and it'll be exciting to see how, and do you feel that the continuity of feeding into the AP class will lend itself? You're saying Java is what's being emphasized in the AP computer science?
Yes, that's correct. And what they've discovered at schools that do teach this is a large number of students discover that they like computers and move on to the next level, which at many schools, not all, offer AP computer science. And so they'll move on to that. And as it turns out, I went to a conference at Cal Poly last year, and less than a quarter of their computer science incoming freshmen ever took AP computer science. But almost all of them did take some computer science class at their high schools. So AP is not necessarily the springboards towards a bachelor's degree program in computer science. And the majority of students don't take it primarily because it's not offered. But most schools do offer something that gets the interest going, and it's, hey, I like this. I'm going to go check it out in college.
And there's many other languages, as you
There are
obviously know.
many
Right.
languages.
Yeah, yeah.
AP is prescribed by the College Board, in Java is prescribed by the College Board in the AP class.
Okay, very exciting. Thank you.
Dr. Paz?
Just a quick question. I'm thinking about the student who would be interested in taking a class, takes the class, maybe gets into AP, but doesn't go to a UC or doesn't go to a state university, decides to go to Santa Barbara City College. How have you thought about that?
Santa Barbara City College, I know, has very good programs, as well as a very good transfer program articulated with the Cal States and the UCs. They actually offer a class that's similar in scope to AP Computer Science, called Computer Science 120. And they have many courses much more advanced than that a student could take, both within a prescribed transfer program, and a student could just go and take them. And they tend to be quite good as well. So some students, I think, would also be motivated to go to City College, take a couple more classes, and transfer to whatever university they might want to go to.
Great, thank you.
And I will only share an anecdote just because it happened today, but I have a first-generation low-income female at UCSB that is part of the program that I work with there, who is a computer science major, and it just so happens that her undergraduate research is working with Dr. Diana Franklin at UCSB in the computer science department on how to run programs and coding for younger students, like the elementary level. In the field of computer science, but specifically about coding. And the reason I share this with you is because today this particular student, who is a female and clearly underrepresented in the field, informed me that she will be going to Harvard this summer to conduct research. So I think there's so much power just for the summer, but there's so much power in what we do and starting our students young. So I'm also really just excited for the opportunity that this will be offered at our sites, and I do hope that more first-generation and low-income students participate and get introduced to a field, because we never know what can happen.
That's true. Thank you.
Thanks. So I feel that there's support, and it sounds like this can also come back to us as a consent item at a future meeting. So thank you.
Thanks for waiting, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks to all the teachers who waited. We know you all have to be at work very early tomorrow morning, so thank you for being here. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to take conference agenda items 5 and 6, and then if we have time, we'll do update on Thrive. Otherwise, perhaps bring that back at a future agenda. Yes, so then we will bring item number 4 back, but we will discuss item number 5, which is discussion regarding Tyler Technologies Munis financial system, and I believe that's Ms. Jate.
That is, thank you. As you're aware of, during the state's fiscal crisis, the district was looking for ways to decrease its expenditures to keep in line with the state's decrease in revenue. Part of the expenditure decrease was to move to a less expensive financial system, which we did, and that transferred into significant savings in the past 2 years. Even though the savings was recognized, the system did not live up to our expectations. The fiscal division struggled with the prospect of going out for an RFP for a new financial system since last June. It is not an easy decision. However, the current system is not what we expected, and the district had to decide whether to limp along with a substandard system or reach out to see if there is a better system in place. We received 5 RFPs. Of these, staff chose 3, Munis, Infinite Vision Financial, both of which were Tyler Technology products, and Escape Technology. After closer consideration, the staff eliminated Infinite Visions. In February, demonstrations of both Munis and Escape were presented with various Santa Barbara Unified School District staff attending, representing users from all aspects of the current financial and personnel system. Staff has also visited county offices that used either Munis or Escape, both of which are good systems. However, staff agreed that Munis is the system in which the district can grow into and as users become more proficient. The staff's recommendation to the board is that the district contract with Tyler Munis as its new financial system. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Jate. Questions or comments, board? Mr. Herron?
I think just one question. At the demonstration I attended, I think the comment was made that this is not really a California product yet. And so
That is not necessarily true. They have 6 districts, and they have 2 county offices, and within one of that county, or one county office, and within one county office, they have 17 schools? 15 schools.
But they're basically an out-of-California company.
That's correct, but they have been in California since 2006, and so they've had lots of experience in that respect. They've worked through the PERS, the STRS, all of that, which is the biggest concern in California.
That was one of my concerns.
That's right.
They are committed to that, and
Absolutely.
all the changes that our wonderful state government makes, they're committed to living with those changes and working with them?
Absolutely. They are their customer support and their reactiveness to requests from the districts all came out extremely positive. I called several districts and then visited the Contra Costa County office up in Pleasant Hill with some of my coworkers. And we didn't want to hear what's so great. We wanted to hear what was really bad about the system. And they were very positive about the system, because we heard the song and dance. I didn't want to hear a song and dance. I wanted to hear the truth. And I feel that we got the truth.
Thank you.
Ms. Parker?
By moving away from QSS, are we losing any money? I mean, obviously, it's a disappointment that this did not work, but is there a contract that's still in place that we're walking away from, or?
No, in fact, I decreased some of the module. See, we have to continue with QSS for 1 year because it will take us a year to implement Munis if that's the way the board decides to go. But with QSS, I decreased some of the modules, which decreased the cost, plus I prepaid them, which even gave me a 3%. So we are already paid up in full for 13-14. We have a 60-day notice, so there's no loss there. There is the cost of the implementation, however, of Munis, but in 5 years, that will pay for itself.
Dr. Paz?
I appreciated the demonstration that was done last week. Thought it was a great system because I have to deal with our county system at work. Sometimes I find it a little irritating. Would you come back, obviously, to the board and talk in the future about how you plan to roll it out? Because I know that there was a little bit of discussion about that. You wouldn't necessarily roll it all out in one shot, that you would phase it in with different modules.
I can give you a really brief way. The one thing that I know, I don't know if you all know this, but when we implemented QSS, we did a data dump on April 29th, not to anything that we wanted to do. We wanted to start doing a data dump in September before we went live and went unified, which meant we blended 2 districts at one time. We data dumped on April 29th. We went live July 1. I'm sure I've aged 10 years in those 3 months. This will not happen. Munis puts in a database, 3 databases, a test database, a live database, and a training database. Everything that we do will be tested, and their first data dump will be in September after we do a full analytical project of how we're going to have everything working. And we're already thinking about how we can change our processes and document what's happening. And we want to be our own trainers. We want to be so good at this at the district office that we are the trainers to the sites and not rely on a vendor to keep training us. So the implementation will start the minute we get approval and preparation, and then come September, we'll have our first data dump, and that will be all the data moved over from QSS, at least the current year that we're in, so 13, 14, and we're hoping to migrate the other 2 years of QSS so we don't have it at all anymore. But we will have parallel payrolls, which we never had before. We'll have all kinds of testing, all kinds of training in our own data. That's huge. So it'll be a much better implementation process.
And, sorry, were you done, Mr. Herron?
No, one question.
Go ahead.
You're indicating that the implementation is about $328,000 coming from Microsoft, other expense reductions, and reserves. How much of the 328 is coming from reserves?
About 300.
Okay, thank you.
Not much Microsoft money left.
And mine's more of a general comment. It's not directed to any one person or individuals, but I would hope that we would do, it sounds like there's been a lot of research for this particular system, but I would hope that we do everything we can to keep this system for a while. It's just very difficult for a board to see the same issue being addressed, and a level of confidence every time a new system comes into place that's very convincing. And so I would just hope that with this new system, we do everything we can to work with it, to keep it around for a little bit longer than 2 years, because it makes a difference. There's an investment of money that goes in, and I know that you've all been working on this and thinking about it, and also that the last system wasn't a complete waste. It was a learning experience that we've built upon to figure out what we do need and how to do it better, right?
And we did have
yes.
savings during a very difficult time.
We did, yes.
So.
And I do have, and I think there's going to be a response to that, but I also do have one specific question. One of the things that seemed exciting for the group, and I'm looking, because I don't know who's going to answer this, was the group was excited that they would be able to approve items on their phone or remotely, and that's great, but as a board member, it raises some red flags of concern of course, thinking if really approving stuff over the phone is the best way, and if there's security systems in place so that you know, if my 5-year-old niece is playing with my phone, she wouldn't be the one to approve a $1 million expense. You know, crazy things can happen, so, yes.
So I'll answer your first, I'll answer your first question, and then I'll let the techie guys answer the second part of your question. Since I'm the only one that's here that made that decision for moving to QSS, you know, I take full responsibility on that.
this wasn't directed at
I
any-
know, I've been stressing about this for over a year, so you know how, you know how tight I am with money. So you can imagine how hard this was to make the decision to move on. But talking with several of my fellow, I was about to say board members, but it's late. Staff members,
feels
my
like board
peers, thank
members.
you, Ben, that they convinced me that it's not worth limping along. It's horrible. And I mean, we could show you reports and what we have to deal with. And when Dr. Cash asks me, how many employees do I have? How many are funded out of the general fund? And it takes me hours to get to it. And these are big decisions that we're trying to make. Are we going to let people go? How can we do this? You know, where are we? It's really difficult to get the information out, and it's very frustrating. So your question about how long do we want to stay on this, I negotiated a 10-year agreement, no increases for the first 5 years, nothing greater than 5%, and for the future 8%. So I think that's really great when you're talking $25,000 a year.
And thank you, because I do know that you are very careful and thoughtful about every penny that is used.
So it was a tough
So I
one.
know it's a tough one, and again, I think it was a learning experience to identify what we really needed, but it's sometimes hard also.
And now we have this supportive tech type of, our IT director is a little more savvy than during the time.
more savvy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, was there a response to one of my?
Okay, I was going to say this, you know, gives us an opportunity to look at how we do business as a district. It's not just putting a piece of software in and have everybody use it. We want to make the financial system as easy and seamless at the sites for the principals and the bookkeepers and there to be able to do things quickly and easily without having to labor through it like they have to do now. We did that survey like Meg had mentioned, and there's a lot of dissatisfaction in how long it takes them to do things. And so with this implementation, we would look at our processes and how things work and how quickly transactions can move through the system and all of those steps. And there's a lot of automation of things between HR and payroll and position control, and where people aren't entering the same data 3 times. And so you have one data entry point, which saves us from making a lot of, you know, potential mistakes and keying errors and things like that. So it's really going to give us an opportunity to look at how we do business and streamline and become more efficient. So, and I did see how nervous you got when we mentioned about approving things on the smartphone.
I looked at you, Mr. Scott.
I can guarantee it's a very limited types of transactions that would be available for that, and it wouldn't be the whole system, but we'll definitely look at that. That's definitely on the list of things that we would look at for sure.
Principals would not be able to move money from one high school to another.
Principals can't move money.
And then I also wanted to add that our teachers and classified staff work way too hard to every day, and then to have to try to figure out, you know, what's my paycheck, what if I want to make these adjustments, to have to come down here. And the thing that struck me about the system is how easy it will be for our teachers and classified staff to go into that self-service portal and get information that they've never been able to get before. So that was really, being a teacher not too long ago was very eye-opening, and I very much appreciated that part of it.
And I really appreciate your comments, because I think that the more we can do to help our teachers spend their time teaching is probably a good thing. So thank you.
So Todd, are you going to answer the question about how they can do this through their mobile without creating a problem?
Well, passwords are only as good as the people who hold them. So, the application requires you to put in a password. So as long as principals aren't giving their kids their passwords, I think we're okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so just keep in mind, I mean, unlike on other issues, I think security is just a big issue for.
Absolutely,
so, yeah,
especially
for-
as you know, we become more global with technology. You're 100% correct, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Paz?
Just want to see if we can, if we go and move forward on this process, and it's the board's direction that we do that, that in the future we get an update as it's rolling out and implemented.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to place this on the consent agenda at the next board meeting?
I believe so.
Okay.
Thank
See, no,
you.
Thank you. I think Mr. Rickman?
Mr. Rickman is up for the next
All right.
agenda item.
So my
H6.
presentation is about 45 minutes.
Wow. Gosh. Really?
I will go very quickly. I wanted to just update you on some more Illuminate news. At our last meeting, last time I presented, there were some questions that I tried to get answers for you. One was a request for the client list from Illuminate, so I got that. That's included in the documents. I just want to go over it really quick. They have 201 individual clients, 387 districts, 2,811 schools, and then over 1.5 million students being served by Illuminate. I also presented or added to the information that you were provided with what a contract might look like with them, and I specifically had them add some language to address a concern of data ownership issues that Dr. Paz brought up specifically, and that they will be providing us with a data dump every quarter in a format that's industry standard, so we will always have that data. And then you also asked that we do another presentation, which another demonstration, which we did, that many of you attended. The other thing that I've done is I've sent out inquiries to 20 different school districts who are using Illuminate, and I plan to send out at least 10 more. And I will send you their responses, good, bad, and indifferent. I wanted to just give you a taste of the things that I've gotten so far. Now, some of this, I'll tell you, some of this is for just the data and assessment component, and some of it is for the Student Information Service. So this is Chico Unified, 12,389 students. This is just the data and assessment component. This is our first year of implementation of the data and assessment component of Illuminate. Overall, we are happy with the product and service. We use Aries for our SIS. And the initial setup of Illuminate, using their scripts to pull data from Aries, did have some glitches back in the fall, but it seems to be pretty stable now. That's not going to be a concern for us because we're not going to be pulling data testing from Aries. This one was my favorite. This is from Bonita Unified District. 9,847 students. This is, again, data and assessment piece. I find it intriguing they gave my name out as a reference. I'm pretty honest and realistic. I'm not going to tell you that things are perfect, but here are some pros and cons, and they give me a list that I will forward off to you. After you read my pros and cons, please understand, would I do the switch again? Absolutely. I believe that Illuminate is responsive to my district's needs, constantly working to improve the system and building a system with more options than I could have put on a list 3 years ago. That is my biggest pro. They have not stopped building it. It continues to improve, grow, and grow just as we are all growing with SBAC, Common Core, and the challenges of the digital age. And then the last one I'd like to share with you is, actually I have two more, I'm sorry. Pittsburgh Unified, 10,381 students. We started using Illuminate last July. This is, again, just data and assessment. After using Data Director for a number of years, we had a slow start, but we are happy with it now. I would be more than happy to speak with you, so she said I can give her a call. And this is the last one. This is Monterey Peninsula, and they have 11,000 students. We've been using Illuminate, and this is the information system, student information system, and what we would be doing, the data and assessment piece. I would have to give them very high marks in both functionality and the tool and service. Their product is very user-friendly and intuitive. The two trainer reps that we worked with most often Spencer and Melissa are both former teachers, which is, you heard that, which is great about them. They've hired teachers to do this. Which I believe is part of the reason the functionality is so strong. People with real school experience helping guide product development. By far the biggest plus is the customer service they provide. They provide excellent on-site training, and she goes on to compliment them. And I want to go back to my statement about teachers who will be primarily using this, is that our job is to make their lives easier, not more difficult. So I want to be sure that we have a product that does that. And while there'll be bumps along the way and people who are frustrated, I really believe this is the right way to go. So thank you.
Thank you, and I also want to thank you. There's a couple things that I've seen happen today, which is you shared information with us about what other school districts are using some of what we're thinking about using and the feedback. And I can speak for myself as far as how useful that is for a board member to hear what other school districts are saying and the feedback that they have. So I really appreciate in both instances for Munis and Illuminate that you've been able to share that with us because it's very useful information. So thank you.
You're welcome. Questions?
Questions, comments?
I second that completely. I think I contacted another board member in Atascadero who they've been using it since this last year, 2012, 2013, and she was very positive about it.
Great. Anything else?
No, and I will take that as a good sign that
Okay.
this could come back to us.
Okay.
And it can probably come back to us on
Could
the
it come
consent
back on
agenda.
a consent agenda item?
Great. Hey,
Yes.
thank you very much.
All right,
We
thank you.
stayed late, but we were very productive. All right, so this leads us to future agenda items. I've actually written down a few that have come up in our discussion today. We will come back to an update on the Thrive, on the work that Thrive's doing. Also, selling of the bonds, sounds like that's an urgent one that should come back to us at the next meeting. In addition to that, the priority facilities project list for elementary, as well as the priority facilities projects secondary / the Dos Pueblos project really coming back to us. And I do have for a future, probably not immediate future, but discussion of approach for a facilities project with outside funding. Other agenda items that we would like to see. Ms. Idelson.
Yes, I would like to add an agenda item for discussion in the future, and that is the district's proposal for elimination of 7 honors classes from our comprehensive high school course offerings. I feel that this is an issue of utmost importance to the students in our high school community, and it's critically important that the board discusses it as soon as possible.
All right, thank you.
I'm not sure an agenda item, but I guess drug dogs was just declared unconstitutional in some cases, not relating to school boards. But I guess I would like some verification from, I know that Dr. Cash feels that it's not an issue.
We're seeking some, based on the Supreme Court's decision, we're trying to get some guidance on it, how that impacts
Yeah.
governmental entities.
Yeah, I'd just like to know, because I don't want to be a test case in a drug sniffing, if we find somebody and then we go to the Supreme Court to have to prove that it's okay for a school district. I'd rather somebody else have that battle. So I would just feel more comfortable to have some kind of feel for that.
All right, so it sounds like that can come to us perhaps in a weekly update? Or do we
I
want?
don't know when I'll get the opinion, but when I do, I'll
Okay.
send it to you.
All right. And I also know that probably in our discussion, I don't know what discussion this will come to, but yesterday our assembly did move forward to pass some legislation about cabs. And so so I read that today too. So I'm assuming we will get updates when appropriate and if appropriate, because we don't really know.
That will clearly be part of any conversation in relationship to selling bonds.
All right, so we have some busy times ahead of us. And with that, I will close the meeting. Thank you all for staying late.
But maybe announcing when the next special meetings are?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, just a second. We do have a lot of special meetings. Thank you, Ms. Parker, for reminding me. We actually have our first special meeting this Thursday at 3:30 p.m. at Dos Pueblos High School. That special meeting is with the Goleta City Council, and that will take place in the Dos Pueblos Library. And next week is a pretty busy week for us. We have two special meetings. The first is on Tuesday, the 16th at 5 o'clock at Santa Barbara City College. I think the room or location is to be announced, and that's a joint meeting with Santa Barbara Unified, Carpinteria Unified, and Santa Barbara City College trustees. And then I believe that on Thursday, Friday, April 19th, we have a special meeting with the City of Santa Barbara starting at 2 p.m. here at the Santa Barbara School District. So we will be busy, and we will be talking about a lot of special stuff in the next couple weeks. So thank you. May. And now I think we can officially adjourn. Thank you.